Yeah, there's copies of the agenda there. There's copies of the agenda there. I'm just getting a message, but I don't want to start a meeting this time.
A lot of technology going on in Mike.
Yeah.
Living in there. See that house here in the north? Like two sections and a roof.
I always stay a couple of hours. Yeah, sure, because people love it.
Yeah, no, I did, I just want to make it up for a year.
Still don't have Mary Lou yet.
I want to.
Yeah, I know. I know. It hasn't approved this year. Okay, we will call to order a special meeting. Kate, if you would do the roll call again, please.
Here. Councilman Paddock.
Here.
Councilman here. Supervisor Baden.
Here. Oh. Because the agenda wasn't YouTube link. One moment. Let's take Okay. First, I'd ask for a resolution. The town board accepts the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor.
Make that motion.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Okay, first, we'd love to have a discussion on the accessory dwelling law. So I can put up a copy of it. Do you want to share it, Aaron? I'm going to log in and share it. Might be easier if you do than unless you want me to.
And while we're waiting, maybe an explanation of why the multiple meeting time we're saving and.
Yeah, so the reason we're doing these multiple meetings is first we schedule the audit meeting is always scheduled the last Thursday of the month. We have decided as a board to try to do public hearings after the audit meetings for easier on us, easier on the public, going through all the other business of the regular business meeting. We're trying to keep the workshop meetings primarily for workshop. So we've kind of fallen into this routine this month, and again in April, we've got public hearings scheduled. The special meeting is to work at a public hearing. So we have to convene a new meeting now, which is discuss the comments we just heard, potential changes to the code, decide next steps. And there are a couple other agenda items that we are taking care of. One of which is scoring the proposal for the Webtown website. We received 11 proposals. The board members have scored them independently, and we're going to go through them. We also are going to talk about potential of a land use moratorium in the town. We have discussed briefly at the last meeting. So
While the multiple meetings might seem a little clunky, instead of having a public meeting and then discussing it at a workshop meeting a month later, this gives us the ability to react quickly.
while our minds, while people are still here, they can see it, and it also is so we don't have 3 and 4 hour meetings regularly. We got a little behind the bills tonight. We had an unusual amount of bills. The dollar amount was not unusually high. It actually was lower than usual. We just had a lot of bills. Part of it I blame on Central Hudson, just as every other rent. We got 5 bills for every account, and the town has 10 electrical accounts. So the people who have one, consider yourself lucky, because we got 5 bills for 10 accounts. So we had to sort through all that to make sense today.
Mike, I don't know who's in there, so I can't share.
Oh, you know what? I'll go ahead and share. It's probably just easy.
Town Central Hudson bills look like my Central Hudson bills.
Yeah, they do.
Credits, debts.
Yep.
debits,
Yep,
credits.
they look the same.
I still don't know that.
And apologies with the technology of trying to zoom out every meeting, it just makes it a little bit harder, but I think in the long run, as we can see with 3 people comment, it worked. Okay, I'm going to share the screen up there. Let me try to make it a little bit bigger. So this is the accessory dwelling law. I know you all have a copy of it handy. We'll do is we'll kind of work our way through it. I'm going to have you closed out so I can't see you. So if you need to speak, just unmute yourself, please. So the purpose and intent, I don't feel really that anything there needs to be changed. Is the board in agreement with that? And we don't have to make changes, but we can just get the sections and have conversation. What I like to do is just go section by section. The definitions, Aaron, I may have you to kind of work on that because we have minimal definitions. We may want to consider stating some of the definitions out of New York State Code, or at least referencing the section of building code where it is, so people find it.
Yeah, that's.
Rather than copying it verbatim, because then if their law changes, then we have to amend our law. So it's better to just reference New York State Building Code section, whatever. But I think it's a valid point because people who may not be familiar with building code or how to find it, and I can tell you, it's difficult to actually find an online copy of it. They make it difficult on purpose because they want to sell it.
Yeah, I was called.
Yeah, yeah. We do have a copy in the town that we subscribe to, so we have that. The authorization is that just that we authorize the code enforcement officer to apply this. The zoning districts, I think we're allowing it in all zoning districts with the exception of the natural resources and the industrial. I think that's probably appropriate because the goal of those two districts is to not have residential. We would prefer to not put residential in those. They're isolated like that.
Those are fairly minimal. The parcel
They are
size.
small districts in general. They are, the natural resources is our mining areas. The industrial is a combination of different types of culture. They were all I districts. All our industrial districts were I districts prior to us redoing the zoning map in 2009, and we carried them over.
You'd know if you lived in it.
Yeah, we did sort of try to close the gap a little bit. Some of them, there were like two with a parcel in between that was a different district, and we did add a few parcels. I believe there are a couple residential parcels that are actually in the I district. But it's somewhat by choice. It's people who are involved with whatever's going on in the I district, and they, by choice, have so that moves us to lot requirements. So we're saying if it's within the same structure, density doesn't count. And essentially, that's how it is right now. If you're building an addition on a house, density doesn't count anyway. All you're doing is increasing the footprint of the existing dwelling unit. You're not building a new dwelling unit. So if it's an attached apartment, if it's an attached garage and you're building above the garage, that's already part of, if it's a residential use. In the case that we heard earlier, if it's a barn, that's not a residential use, that becomes a new dwelling. But I don't think we need to change section 1. So we're saying, number 2, that if it's in a separate structure, require 50% additional density calculation. That may be worded wrong. As I read the county's comment, I think they may have misinterpreted. Well, I think what we're trying to say is if say you're in a 2-acre zone, that you need 3 acres instead of 4 for your additional structure.
I thought they said to get rid of it.
Well, they're saying to get rid of it entirely.
Which I kind of agree.
I don't oppose that either.
Because
I mean, as long as you're meeting the setbacks and it can be done legally.
yeah,
It's just someone like me will be like, I only have 1.9 acres, so I wouldn't be able to do anything with this pretty much, but if I want, but there is room on my property to. put
right.
one
You
if I
do have
wanted
to get water and sewer.
Yeah.
You have through the county. You have to. They're feeling now what the county. I think what the county said, though, if I remember right, is that we consider sending that to the planning board.
That the code enforcement officer, referral by the building inspector of the application to the planning board if there are physical design constraints associated with the lot.
Yeah, but that's kind of arbitrary.
So
Determines what a physical design constraint is.
if it's getting too close to the property line, if there's water, wetlands on the property, if there's too much of a vertical.
Right. Well,
build up
those
to it.
those are setbacks, though, that you would have to meet. We say you have to meet setbacks.
Right.
Right.
So the too close to the property line is addressed. The wetlands is addressed by the wetlands laws. You can't build within a certain amount. The vertical is, that's an interesting thing, because that's not really addressed.
Exceeding the height restriction.
Well, no, Adam's talking about it, say you're building into the side of a hill or something like that.
Cliff on the other side.
Um,
We take a look at a map, everything looks flat until you get out of the property, and it's built
Yeah.
into the side of the mountain. or
Well,
something.
it's the discretion of the code enforcement officer.
I believe so. I mean, he has to, they have to show that water and septic. Should we add for the lot requirements, ability? Did we mention water and septic anywhere?
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
mentioned
it's
it later.
the
Oh,
last
that's
down.
later. Okay. I think we could, I'm open to removing two, if we wanted to, and just say that, but I think if we're gonna remove density entirely, that would be for the first. If you're gonna build more than one, then we gotta start looking at density, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you're gonna build more than one.
One accessory dwelling.
We have the
Well,
restriction.
we've got to put a limitation. If we're gonna waive density,
Yeah.
I think we've got to
I
put a
think we have to
limitation.
keep it to one.
Quantity.
Yeah, we're gonna,
Because if someone lives in R2 and has 10 acres and they want to build an accessory dwelling unit and then do some other things, they can do that. But
Rather than trying to wordsmith this now and find the exact language, I'm only asking Aaron because you were kind of the champion of this law. Do you want to make notes and kind of just
yeah.
work on some changes? But what I'd like to do is just have us have conversation. Aaron can come back with a new draft, and then we can go from
But
there.
we're all thinking
I'm
just take
thinking
away-
take away
all
all density for the first. If you want to build more than one, then density would apply, but for the second unit.
Would that matter? Because you only have a restriction of one unit right now,
Right.
one additional dwelling unit per property.
Well, we haven't gotten that far. yet. We may make
I'm saying
changes.
if we don't take that out, then.
Right, it can be accessory.
Yeah, I'm in favor of removing that one per property personally.
So, E number 2, we're gonna take that out.
Yeah, but Aaron's gonna figure out how to reword. 1 and 2 will get reworded together as one thing. To some degree. I think it should still meet the setbacks though, or it has to go for an area variance. I think that's reasonable. I think the other standards of the zoning regulations, the only one that pops in my head that might be a challenge, lot coverage,
right.
but
Yeah. That's what I was thinking about.
but I don't know if it's a problem or not
Yeah.
until we actually apply it. So
Yeah, that's what I was gonna look at it.
why don't you look at the different lot coverages in the different districts? So we're saying it should be prohibited for 2-family or multifamily dwellings. The reason we considered it for the prohibited from a multifamily dwelling is the purpose of a multifamily dwelling already is multifamilies. If somebody could build another unit, they could build an extension onto their multifamily. It's not a multifamily dwelling by nature is usually a commercial entity anyway.
And I think we have some density allowance in that.
We do,
part of the
we
law
do.
anyway.
The 2-family,
We were on the fence about it.
yeah, I would say let's remove the 2-family and just say on parcels utilized for multifamily, because multifamily is a commercial use. And there's other ways for them to build additional units. Accessory dwelling unit, I think of it more as the examples we heard today. It's a family member, or it's a small apartment or something like that. A multifamily is already built with the purpose of having. Yeah. Well, anything by law, anything 3 or greater. You can have single family, you can have 2-family, and then once you get on 2-family, it's considered multifamily. That's anywhere from 3 to whatever. So on parcels where the principal use is commercial or industrial, I think there we do say you can't build it. Because if you want to do the mixed use, you already are allowed under the zone. And there's a density bonuses given for that already. If it's in the same structure, it doesn't count additional density, it counts as one structure.
So if we're tying it to the use and we have residential properties in the industrial district, why not just allow it in all districts? And we're limiting it here in terms of commercial, industrial.
Yeah, the only reason I said that is because those districts, like right now, if you want to do a single family house, I believe it's in the NR, it's a special use permit. Because we're trying not to encourage housing in those districts. So remember, you can always go for a variance.
Yeah.
The unique, instead of writing the law for a one possibility situation, I think it's better to say that there is an opportunity for that to go through a process to prove the need. But rather than, I think if we write the law that way, we're somewhat saying we're encouraging it.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I don't think we want it in industrial districts. If somebody really wants to, they can come ask for a variance to build.
Or what if like a natural resources, what if it's not mined anymore? I guess they can apply for zoning.
They can apply to rezone the property. There's a lot of, I think it could happen.
I don't know how many residential structures we have.
I know we looked
I
at
think,
that.
yeah, I think, we almost do the math on that before we change the law. Let's find, and that's easy enough to do. We can look at the parcel viewer and put the overlays and figure out how many houses are in those two districts. And then see really.
Because if it is significant, then we could make it be, the other thing we could do is make it be a special use permit. Or have to go before the planning board in those instances.
Yeah.
If it is more.
Well, we should mirror what we already do for a single family house. If you
Yeah,
want to put
exactly.
that up. So, point taken, definitely. Now they're saying the non-conforming, we're saying it's not allowed. The planning board is saying send it to the or site plan,
Right,
which is different than special use.
yeah,
I like that advisory comment.
yeah. I do too.
So if you could reword that, I would still like to say one of the H, it's allowed. But if it's a non-conforming lot in any of the other districts and a residential use, then it would just have to go through a site plan approval. Which is different than a special use. Site plan, it's assumed it's an allowed use in the district. It just has to go through a criteria review. And that's really, it's got to just go through the review and make sure it meets all the requirements.
Yeah, both the recommendations were.
Yep. The owner of the parcel shall maintain their primary domicile, either the principal or the accessory dwelling unit. I don't see a problem with that. I think the owner of the parcel should, we're not trying to turn these into apartments. We're trying to turn these into accessory dwelling units, which accessory, the definition is subordinate to the main.
Yes,
So it's so family members can stay there, or it can be rented out, but it would have to be in a certain situation.
we have the comment about the affidavit.
Well, the affidavit is different to me than an inspection. The affidavit, although,
Yeah, one person.
I don't know that we really need it because they're certifying it's in compliance. Code enforcement officer can verify whether it's in compliance instead of them signing an affidavit. I mean, if he finds it's not in compliance, he can issue the
Yeah.
violation.
I think they could sign, because what this is saying is they have to go visit the code enforcement office once a year and
Yeah.
sign an affidavit, and that could be part of the application, like for the initial application, but then I think enforcing, having people come to the code enforcement office once a year would be very hard to enforce.
Yeah, I'm of the mindset of just deleting the sentence. How do other people feel?
Let's pay for it.
Yeah, I think we should remove the affidavit and I think we should remove any requirements for the unit to be inspected subsequent. to the-
Yeah, I mean, if it's used as an apartment, then it has, then it's gonna get the fire inspection anyway.
But you don't need to-
Right, and that's the reason why we put that in there in the first place, was just about these situations.
Yeah.
So,
But that's covered under separate code already, right? Doesn't need to be explicit here as well.
Well, why don't, let's wait till we get to that section. Let's not jump ahead, so that we won't miss something.
Form.
So the fact that you can't apply if you have current building violations, that I believe should stay in. They have to be on a permanent foundation. I think that that's important as well. We don't want a camper, shed, yeah. The maximum, we're saying a minimum of 350 and a maximum of 900. Now, I saw the one letter said pretty lower than that, so I'm not sure what that letter was actually. And Aaron, I don't know, you just got those letters today. I don't know if you want to go to some of the California sites to see some of the examples.
I looked, I don't think they were part of the laws, they were supporting documents
Okay.
that are provided by the county. And the one, I think was about, I'll look to see what, Senator Henshey's, I know that they're looking at mandating accessory dwelling units.
Well, the governor's order that we did talk about.
Yeah.
I confirmed today I had a meeting online with the Association of Towns attorney today, and I flat out asked her, and she said the governor has removed that from her budget proposal. So that the state law that we expressed some concern that would be in conflict with us is no longer said. Well, I'm not familiar
Yeah, me
with,
neither.
I've got to go back and
Yeah.
read it. But the governor's executive order, well, not executive order, but budget legislation that she was looking to adopt with the budget has been removed. I don't know if they're gonna get the budget approved tonight. It's due by tomorrow. We'll see if they actually get it approved on time or not. What do we feel about the maximum? We said 900 square feet. Is there a reason to have a maximum?
And that's for an addition. This isn't inside the initial.
I'm not sure I understand.
Inside,
the question.
inside it.
It's either.
It's either.
So this could be an addition or.
Well, if you're doing an addition on a house, it's not necessarily an accessory dwelling. It could just be an addition
If you
on
put
a
a
house.
kitchen in it.
If it's gonna be a separate live alone with its own entrance and it has a kitchen and a bedroom, then it's considered a separate dwelling.
I would ask, does this fall into the same thing from a restrictive size as the amount of bedrooms?
Yeah, I would be
Big bedroom
inclined to
insert.
remove the maximum. I think the minimum, and there is a minimum size anyway
Yeah.
in building code.
I think that's where.
I think that's where we took
Yeah,
the
that's what we
350
got.
from.
We didn't want to go,
Right.
we didn't want to make it bigger than that, because we didn't want to restrict it now.
How does the board feel about removing the maximum?
Well, the reason we were capping it was to keep it accessory to a large building that's waiting on some of these buildings. A 2,000 square foot. Now,
How
I don't
about
know
we
with
say-
Tina's example.
And shall not exceed the square footage of the principal dwelling.
Well, I guess I'm curious about that specific example. If you convert a larger structure, like, do you have to designate, like, okay, now I want this to be the primary?
Well,
dwelling,
that
and
was the question I was gonna ask, is could you flip flop? Could you say, well, this larger structure now is building, but in that particular case, it's not an accessory dwelling, I don't think, because, well, it depends on the acreage. It depends on the acreage. If it's a 2-acre zone and the property is greater than 4 acres, you can build a second dwelling and it's not an
But
accessory.
it's an accessory dwelling, that's what I got a Seo for, that's what I got a comment for, that's what I did.
So I think that's one question I had, is we're creating something that hasn't been allowed in our code, but
Right.
the code office might. call
Yeah, I
something
mean,
an accessory
yeah, it
dwelling.
may be called an accessory dwelling, but right now it's a dwelling. It's in that
If
particular
you're
situation.
getting Seo, it means it's allowed in our
Right.
code. What we're doing here has not been allowed in our code ever.
for people to do.
Do you want to,
And in that specific
yeah,
example.
let's not get into back. It's just.
In that specific, well, I'm talking board, in that specific example, you have 2 dwellings. If this law passes, you could add at least one accessory.
Yes.
To those dwellings.
Yeah.
Possibly if you decide to do one each dwelling.
He may have called it an accessory dwelling, but
Right.
it's not, it's a dwelling.
Right.
And that's maybe something
Yeah, that's,
you can take up with the
Yeah,
code
we'll have
enforcement
to-
office and say, why are you calling it accessory dwelling?
So,
When we talk, I'm sorry.
no, there's nothing to try to.
I was gonna say, when we talk about maximum size, we go back to our original definition of ADU. It says a subordinate dwelling, so in my mind, it has to be smaller than the original.
Or equal to.
Yeah, but I do think we should have a concept where if in this case of a larger structure that has been converted, you should be able to designate, switch the designation, because there are certain restrictions to ADUs that might not apply to the primary.
Agreed.
If you get a 900 square foot house, you build a 2,000 square foot house next to it, now the primary becomes the ADU and the other one is now.
I mean, bear in mind,
Accessory.
accessory structures like garages, we do limit because you don't want a garage bigger than the house. Because of just the visual does, I mean, some people may.
I think we also, one of the reasons I think initially that
we put, what we were thinking about, 1 bedroom and the cap had to do with the septic. Because that's. based
Yeah,
off of
except
number
the
of
septic
bedrooms.
is gonna, the county health department's gonna say what you can and can't do, so I think we need to try to set the number of bedrooms. County will say, you can do the septic or you can't do the septic. If you can't do the septic, then you have to downsize the building or come up with a different way to do it. I don't think we should try to dictate to the county, we should let the county dictate the.
Yeah,
Now we're skipping ahead. I got my hands left.
I was gonna say, as far as the maximum
Well,
square footage.
It still
I
goes
think
with
it's
square
fine
footage,
Taking away maximum for it, then I think that it should be equal to or less than of the house.
I think-
And if it is,
what,
Definition
equal
we
to or
change.
less, but we allow some provision that if.
I-
it's- Go
Can I
ahead.
interrupt for a minute?
Please
I
do.
think that it should say less than. It doesn't have to be a lot less than, but the whole point is it's a subordinate use. If
Just say
if
less
there's
than.
the same size, it's not a subordinate use.
Well, and if we're gonna consider taking away the density, you can't have it be able to get around the density.
right.
So I would say make it less than Aaron, but see, if talk to Jerry and see if you can figure out a way, or to the code enforcement office, and see if you can figure out a way that if somebody wanted to build a larger structure and make the current primary the accessory dwelling, they would have that ability.
And then the other thing I'm thinking about doing is for the minimum,
That if we set that to say something like square feet. Like if the minimum dwelling area gets raised or something, we don't want to go back and change the law.
Oh,
Reference to.
Yeah, so it's.
so
I
instead
might
of
put-
saying 350 square feet, you just reference find the building code section.
Yeah.
and, you know,
I actually think the minimum is a little bit smaller than this though, so
whatever it is, will match.
Okay.
I thought we looked up 50.
I think
maybe
it's
I'm wrong.
240,
Okay.
but 350 is something, anyway,
I'll
I
let
don't
you,
remember, it's
I'll
been a
let you
year.
find it. Just reference,
It's been a year.
yeah, just reference the New York State building code minimum square footage for a dwelling. And we'll take out the maximum. And then I don't think we need section 2 anymore, because by saying that, we're pretty much incorporating 1 and 2 together. So the minimum is whatever the code says, and the maximum is must be smaller than the principal structure. And then maybe you could add a section, a number 2 that could say, at request of the applicant, the primary and accessory dwelling units can be reversed, can be
Designation
reversed,
exchange.
exchanged, yeah.
and that would get rid of the
Yep.
40%.
Yeah, so we're dropping that.
So we're dropping that 40%.
Yeah.
not exceeding
Yep,
40%.
yeah. We're just saying it has to be less than the square footage of the principal structure. But they can designate which is gonna be the principal. If the new building's gonna be the principal, then the other building can be which there is, it could be a loophole. I mean, you could have somebody do a 5,000 square foot accessory structure and now say,
That's what I'm saying, we can't waive density that for.
yeah,
I think
maybe do need a maximum.
we should either have a max or not allow people to swap.
Okay. What's the board's feeling? Should we?
I mean, my house is 1,000. and I
Well,
have
if the
3,000
if the max is less than the principal structure, and then we just,
I don't know.
That's the way that I like to see it. But
Yeah.
because again.
bear in mind, somebody can also, if they want to do, we're again doing what I sort of chastised myself about before, is we're trying to solve a unique situation. There's always a variance procedure.
Yeah.
For that person who wants to build a bigger.
I just feel the less than definition is in the spirit of the law. And that
Absolutely.
that anything above and beyond that would go.
Well, by calling it accessory, we're saying, by law, we're definition, we're saying it's subordinate to. So,
Can I interrupt for a minute again?
absolutely.
Okay,
Yes, please interrupt.
obviously, this is still in committee, but the proposal at the state level is that a local government cannot set a maximum that is less than 1,500 square feet. So just know that in the event that we, that law goes through as written, you would have to have that.
Okay,
I see.
well, if that local law passes, I
Right, but I
haven't,
mean, it's been out there for over a year now, so.
I have no idea how far it is in the,
Well, no, so maybe we'll
It's
give us,
back at the Judiciary Committee. So it's kind of back to where it was last year around this time.
right. So. And if a state law passes that supersedes our law, it makes that section
Mhm.
unenforceable anyway, so.
I would rather cap it than waive density.
Yeah, I would agree with capping. Let's cap it at no larger than the principal structure.
yeah, I think. And then if they set a square foot minimum, we'll.
And if
we'll
somebody
figure it
wants,
out.
and if somebody wants to do the flip flop, they can apply to the ZBA for variance change.
But we're not gonna waive. Because if I have a.
No, we are
We
waiving
are,
density.
we are-
So if I have a-
We're setting a cap. The cap is no larger than the principal structure, and we're waiving that.
So if I have a 3,000 square foot house on 1 acre in R1, I can build another 3,000.
If
square
you can
on
get
2
water,
acres.
if you can do water and septic,
You
good luck to you if
need
you have that.
setbacks
to make
and-
this. Yeah.
And if you can, there's also lot coverage requirements.
It's probably not physically possible.
There's
Okay.
lots.
I don't-
We should look at the lot coverage.
Yeah, that's what I
Sounds like a skyscraper.
have.
Most lot coverage is like 30–40%, so it's, I don't think it's physically going to be possible.
Do we run into any issues? Because there isn't the 1 acre limit, doesn't that have to do with not having public water and sewer? Okay, so that was why we were,
1 acre is a community, well,
1
that's
acre.
our minimum.
why that's.
No, I mean, the town back 20 years ago was mostly 1 acre.
Yeah, but why we can't go smaller than that?
We do. In the hamlets, we go down to as small as less than a quarter acre, as long as it has public water and sewer.
Right.
Or community water and sewer.
Right, yeah. So, but I'm saying an R1 that doesn't have community water and sewer.
If you can't meet the sewer requirements for the structure, you can't build it.
You could potentially share the water and sewer with the main house, and that's a possibility. But, again, you can apply for a variance. We can try to think of extreme examples that isn't going to fit in, but there's always the variance process for those examples.
So are you trying to argue that we should say that we should count it at square foot?
If we're gonna waive density,
What would you propose?
I think anything from 900, 1,200 would be.
Well, Mary was saying if that law goes through at the state level, though, that it's gonna.
Can't
say
be
we
less than
can't- we can't
1,500.
cap it at less than 1,500.
Well, then
So
we-
to avoid an error that way, since it's not a law we can reference now. input in our law. So that if it changes, then we don't have to change our law.
Well,
Yeah,
we'd still have to change it, because if someone like me has a 900 square foot house, then I wouldn't be able to build one, the one I would. 850 square.
899.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we just have to see how it plays out. But I think that we need to look at the coverage requirement.
Yeah,
But
we
I
should-
wouldn't want to see like an R1 area suddenly everybody's building.
yeah, I agree.
I just don't think it's feasible in R1. Most of our R1 parcels are an acre or less anyway. If you look at our R1s, most of them are very, very small parcels. You'd be hard pressed to put another house on there
Any
anywhere.
really skinny one tall.
I think we're
That
going
would
back to
work,
like
yeah.
the one exception that might happen.
Yeah.
But it was.
I think you're trying too hard to find an exception.
But because of the water and stuff, even if it was large, it would still end up being one bed. You know, or a small amount bed.
I would temporarily stand.
I'm
Well,
gonna
I'll
look
tell you
at the
what,
lot
why don't you
coverage.
look into it?
I like
Let's skip,
doing,
I think we're trying to force an answer. Really ready to make. We're gonna do the minimum at whatever the building code is, and Aaron will come back with a recommendation for maximum. How's that? We're gonna put it on your shoulders.
Great.
Do we want to remove the maximum of one? I sort of agree that water and sewer will dictate it.
Yeah, I think it should be one per existing. structure.
How about we say though, anything greater than one density requirements of the underlying district to apply.
I think that's fair, yeah, just because we don't want someone to start.
Right.
Right.
Not even that, but it's putting 3 accessories, or 4, one on every side of the house, or, you know, something like that.
Or we say a maximum of 2 instead of 1.
If we're not putting a square foot cap,
I think I think we heard we want to put a square foot cap, but you're going to figure out what that number really is. Why don't we skip Jay for the moment until we decide the square foot cap? We don't have to decide right now. K is easy. It has to meet building code and health code. I'm not sure what L's really doing, but I understand it, that we're going to refer to them. I don't know what they're supposed to be telling us.
well, that was the design standards part, and we took out the design standards and left that part.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of floating.
Yeah, because saying it's going to be referred to them, unless they have a criteria of what they're looking at it for, it sort of becomes too open-ended.
I mean, you could say if it's like a historic building and you don't want somebody extending in a way that would damage it.
But
For
that,
historic buildings, they have to build a separate structure,
yeah.
not connected. to-
Well, if you're doing anything on a historic property already, the code enforcement office under our historic preservation law refers it to them or makes them aware of it so they can talk to the owner and start a dialogue of recommendation. There's nothing mandated, but any building permits or any permit that go through our code enforcement office that are on a property that's on the National Register, they then notify the historic preservation, give the contact info. The historic preservation reaches out to the person developing and says, hey, can we give you some help?
Yeah, but it's right.
It's
If there's a
yeah.
300-year-old stone house and they want to blow down the back wall or build a casino in the back.
Yeah, but
We can't do that in this law, though.
Right, but
and bear in mind though, that we don't have, if somebody wants to do reconstruction on a historic house under the current zoning laws, there's nothing we can do about it.
yeah,
So I don't know, I think we remove that. I think we just remove it. Why we're making this different than anything else.
that's fair.
The septic, that's easy. Should we say water and septic? Mary Lou, are you still there?
I am.
I
Here
know
I
we've kind
am.
of gone round and round. The county doesn't approve water, right? Or do they? They approve wells. And they approve community septic systems. They say how much water you need for a property. Okay?
I do not know off the top of my head, Mike.
Yeah, and I know that's why we've always just included septic and not water, because they don't actually, to my understanding, they don't actually they give approval for septic. I don't think they give approval for water.
I don't think
I don't believe they do either, so we'll leave it
Let
alone.
me see.
What they're saying is if you put a accessory dwelling unit on a house and the water from the kitchen and bathroom exceed the well, you just have to dig a better well. That's on you, the landowner. You don't have to make sure beforehand.
They might do that. If you're making changes to your well, they might, but I don't know. We'll have to find it out. Parking, I do agree with the no additional driveway. I mean, you'd have to get a driveway permit from the town or the county or the state, depending on what classification road you were on. But you normally don't want two driveways close to each other. I mean, the county and the state really prefer, and the town for that matter, less driveways and shared driveways and those kind of things. So.
And this doesn't talk about the size of the driveway, the length of the driveway, if it goes around the back of the house. It just says the cutout for the beginning of the property, so.
I mean, but it's situation specific, right? In an R1, multiple curb cuts at every property would be problematic. If you're in an R5 and you want access to accessory dwelling from the far side of your property, it's not the end of the world. I don't know if you want to restrict it in residential area in like R1 and R2.
Yeah, there are,
Well, you do have to get, if you're gonna build an additional driveway, you're gonna have to go with the highway superintendent anyway, so. Do we wanna just say,
Yeah, I don't think.
Well, and anyone, like, I could go and ask just have a driveway for no reason, and they could grant it to me, so.
could, yeah, but you kind of have to have a reason to have a driveway in your permit. You know, the highway, they could grant it to you, but the highway superintendent is usually looking at it as site distance, he's looking at proximity to other driveways.
Do you know if do we have a standard?
Like you can't force, we do, well, we have a standard in the subdivision code. There's no standard for width of driveways, but if you're putting in, I think you gotta have a certain right of way, if I remember right. I could,
But we don't have anything about distance, like other.
I don't think so.
I would say-
didn't use the screen.
My opinion on it though is that in a law that we're not gonna talk about the look of the accessory unit, relative to the size, historic, anything of that. The one thing that can keep the character of a residence property is having the driveways that are there already not be modified. Especially if you're gonna add, what if you're gonna add two accessories, we add two, now you have three driveways and an R1. That does change the character of a neighborhood, or could change the character. I know what you're saying. Like I said, I think that's the one thing that could be restrictive to keep character.
Well, and for me, it's not just character, but like safety, public safety. I feel like the
Street
more,
parking.
yeah.
But that's always out of our hands anyway, because that's on the highway superintendent of the county, if it's safe. They're gonna talk if it's safe. We're saying be there because there's one.
It says street and driveway intersections shall not be so numerous or so close to each other to impede the flow of traffic. It does go into driveways.
Do you disagree with me?
Yes.
What about restricting it in specific in R1, R2? Where
Okay.
you have those right.
Here it is. Individual driveways serving only one single family each shall not be subject to street improvement requirements of chapter this town. So serving one single thing. However, they shall be subject to the New York State Fire Code access requirements Shared driveways permitted provided the lot shall be utilized by no more than a total of 3 single-family residential, including allotted as access over, but this is all about. Here we go, minimum right-of-way width. The minimum right-of-way for shared driveways, the right-of-way needs to be 50 feet. The minimum has to be 16, and the minimum shoulder has to be 2 feet. But that's for a shared driveway.
Which is essentially what we'd be creating every time we create one. So I guess now my question is.
Well, that's the shared driveway for multiple lots, so if this is on one lot, then it would.
All of a sudden,
I like to say that you have to use the existing driveway.
because you can always improve it, you can always make it bigger, you can make it wider, you can do a lot of things, it's just having another one. I know what you're saying, but again, we get into the specific circumstance.
Right. Well, you want to work on that too, Aaron? And,
I'm gonna leave it
okay.
I'll debate it next time.
No,
I agree that I don't want.
I'm gonna ask, I was thinking of doing, my main concern, I feel like less driveways is on roadways than more frequent.
Yeah, I mean,
roadways.
that's essentially up to the house.
So, yeah, that was my main concern with that. So I'll look at it, but I hear that keeping it as simple.
So the fire and safety inspection, I would say let's take this one out, but if it requires it, if the fire code triggers the need for it, if it's a rental unit,
Yes,
then it's gonna trigger it
Yeah.
already on its own.
right.
So we would remove O. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, because I think that's what we wanted,
Yeah.
the intent.
They're like, yeah, it was mostly to protect tenants. Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about the reason it's in there is way back in the day, we had a section in the code called, and this was the zoning terminology back then was mother-daughter apartments. That's what they were called in zoning. And people would have apartments for family members, and then either the family members would move out and go somewhere else, or they would be an elderly person and they would pass away, and then they became apartments. And back then, it was a workaround, the way people would get around density laws, essentially, which is why we went to the, whatever the density is, you must have that per structure. Now, back 20 years ago, we didn't have the housing sort of crisis that we have now. So I'm on the fence about it. I'm not sure if it needs to be done. The kitchen is what is the defining method of making it its own standalone. As soon as you build this,
Yeah.
I don't think we need B.
What's the matter if you decommission it as a rental or an accessory unit, you have 2 kitchens, who cares? Summer kitchen, winter kitchen. No?
Now presumably it would still not, you still couldn't convert it from an ADU to short-term transient rental without going through the permitting process.
Correct.
I mean, yeah, you could only do that. So I think that's why it's important for us to distinguish between accessory dwelling units and a second dwelling on a parcel, because
I
someone.
think maybe we need to state that in the beginning of
Yeah.
this law, Aaron, that an additional dwelling unit where density is able to be met, is not an accessory dwelling. unit.
Right, and in that case, TDR with that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have to even worry about it.
Well, but we do need to think about that, right? Because the purpose of the ADU was to add rental stock or support families that wanted a family. So it shouldn't be, you shouldn't just be able to build one and then rent it for a year and then next year you get it for. If,
How could you do that with this stuff?
well, that's what I just said, if, like, let's say you had it for, your mother and your mother is gone.
Oh, right.
But remember, there's an application process to go through for the STR.
And we're allowed to have unlimited owner
Well,
occupied.
You're living there, You can rent out rooms in your house.
So, so I could build an ADU, rent it out for a year.
In that case, you
Attached
have
to
to
your
have a
house.
door, like, I know about this, because I know people who've done it. You have to have a door in the structure that opens up.
No, but if I built a standalone ADU and my brother lives there, and then he goes and gets his own place, the next year I can apply as an owner-occupied person for short-term transient rental. What's to stop everybody from building ADUs? And a year later, they build short-term transient rentals and still have no rental staff.
It's a accessory, I think that's the thing, is like, you can't, it's always an accessory dwelling unit unless it's not a dwelling unit anymore. That was what I thought
Yeah.
it meant.
That's
Is
what I
that
thought.
like, if you, like, you can't ever rent that out as TTR as long.
I think we said that.
But then we were talking about how, in the
You can't
context of
just
this
decide as a
conversion,
person that it's not. And I think that's what this is saying, is like, you can't just decide, oh, this isn't an accessory dwelling unit, it's just a thing in my backyard, so I'm gonna rent it out, like that.
right? But I think we were starting to say something that made it sound like you could convert from an ADU.
Let's let Aaron write the new draft and then we'll pick this
I see-
apart. Because I think
I see what you're saying.
I hear what you're saying, but let's all think about it for a week. I mean, if you think you can have something back for next Thursday's meeting, or you want to wait till the workshop?
I can work on it on Sunday.
And you know, if you get something, work with it,
Yeah.
board members, so they can
Yeah.
see it ahead of time.
Yeah.
And we'll keep working on this, but, Mary Lou, depending on the changes, obviously, we'll need to resubmit this to the county. Is that correct?
Yes, you will.
Okay,
Also, you might want to check with Jerry. This is in the back of my mind. I'm kind of trying to research as we go through these things. But I think if you have 2 kitchens, that under New York state law, it's considered 2 units. So, and I don't know if that's for purposes of taxation as well. So there's other things that might come into this besides just the zoning. Jerry may know better off the top of his head if 2
Yeah, 'cause-
kitchens.
because I
mean 2
know
units.
for a fact of some residential that are single family houses that have 2 kitchens. I know that.
I know they do, and I know that for some reason they're not supposed to. That's how it comes up. And I know that, you know, in some cultures, there's the summer kitchen and the regular kitchen. And so that's always kind of a question because some cultures just have 2 kitchens. But I think under New York State building code or somewhere, there might be something saying 2 kitchens equals 2 units.
So if we're going to re-refer this to the county, we should, whatever we're gonna re-refer, we should have done by the meeting of the 20th,
Yeah, so you can get it on.
so we can get it on the May. Okay,
All right.
yep,
Well, so the only thing we didn't discuss, which was suggested by a few people, and I don't even know if it's possible, is making it more likely that these will be affordable units. So I don't know if a cap or pegging it to any kind of.
the problem is it's hard to enforce unless, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that actually creates more of a hardship. I do, because then people would have to meet certain requirements if they wanted to rent it out.
I mean, I guess we could say a maximum rental because you don't, in essence, we're allowing a density to be removed essentially to build these, and you don't want somebody building something and then renting it out for $3,000 a month because they can get it. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose is to create a range of housing stock, you know. We have our share of the expensive end already. We don't need more of those, so.
I'm not saying cap it to like income. I'm saying fix the rent based off the median rental price. And I'm also not saying I
You're saying cap
But that's
the
what I was
rental, not the income of the people applying, but
Right.
capping the rental at a certain.
Right.
I don't necessarily think that's fair. We don't tell anyone else how to price their rent.
Well, but when
I
we're
think that
giving,
we
when we're
want-
giving bonuses to allow it to happen, we have the ability to.
I think if we were to give bonuses or incentives with that, that's fine, but I wouldn't want to require that every single.
Well, we are though giving it, we're taking away the density code. So with, that in itself is an incentive.
So we might have a bunch of $3,000 a month, single bedroom.
And that's a
Vacation.
median that's already set by everyone actually. I just kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we could
You
say
know,
let the
median
market.
Town is 3,000. That's what the market in town is. that's
Yeah, but the
maximum.
purpose of this is to try to help create housing opportunities.
I mean, I'm here for more affordable workforce housing. I just think that that restriction isn't necessarily.
I mean, I would prefer to do that on a bigger, developer, bigger, wealthier project than homeowners who are, like, I agree, I don't, I wouldn't want to see every single one be super expensive, but I'm concerned that it would create a burden on the homeowner.
I mean, you're gonna have a range. Some of these are gonna be for family members
Yeah.
where there's
And there's no lease.
no lease and maybe even no rent.
Right.
Or there's minimal rent. You're gonna have other areas where people may build these and rent them out. I don't know if you're gonna get the high-end people building them. Because the high-end people may be building an apartment or another house that close to their house anyway. I don't know.
I know.
I would just go back and say it's a very popular site. I check it every day. There is no rental properties in the town of Rochester right now.
Right.
Again, if you cap it, you start tinkering around with it, I mean, the market's gonna dictate it to some degree, but I think to a large degree, if the biggest you can build is, or, with most people putting something on it, 500.
Depending what the square footage.
Yeah.
What it costs.
Well, there goes back to your cap. If we want to reduce the cost of these, should they have a smaller cap to make it more affordable?
Because you don't want to get into if it's a family member, there's no cap, and because then it's so hard to enforce.
Right.
And there we go. We're back and forth. Because now, hey, I want to put my family in there, but then we cap it off because we don't want this thing to be $3,000 a month.
Remember the circles we went in with the short-term
Yeah.
rental? How what did it take us? Year and a half, actually 4 years. to get
I
that.
heard that. from a few
I hear it
comments.
too.
I just wanted to make sure we were considering that.
But-
Like it's on the list.
I don't know.
Think about it. We don't have to have an answer now. Think about it, do a little research, come back to the next meeting when we talk about it again.
I have some white papers I could circulate.
There's some
Well, maybe
examples
we can
out
talk to
there.
the county or Repco or some of these organizations that have been advocating for accessory dwelling units to see what their recommendations are. I mean, the planning board did not push that.
I haven't seen any tied to affordable housing, but that's not saying. I'm
I'll
not-
ask the county.
And I'm not saying affordable housing, but there are ways you can tie it to median income and things like that, or have ranges. So we want to look into that. Housing stock is a concern. There may be ways. Because I also agree, as a homeowner, you want to be able to get more rent because that's extra income that people can supplement.
Right.
So
But we,
I understand.
let's not pretend we're not giving a bonus, because we are. We're giving a bonus by throwing the density out the window, so. We'll look into it. Okay. Moving on. The next resolution, town board schedules a public hearing to grant exemptions to requirements of chapter 107 racetrack as for 107-7 to be held on April 14th, 2022 at the Harold Center, Center's not in there. At 6:30 PM, the town clerk is requested to circulate notice. I'll make that motion. Then I'll explain in discussion. Do I have a second?
I'll say.
This would be a special meeting. This is the second Thursday. We normally meet the first Thursday, and third Wednesday. I told Mr. Palmer when, actually his daughter, when she sent the letter, I would try to get it scheduled as soon as possible. we can't schedule it for next Thursday. There's not enough time to post legal notice, so the following week would be the earliest we could do it, rather than waiting. Unfortunately, our workshop meeting is about as late as it can possibly be in a month, being the 20th. So if the board want to do a special meeting that night for public hearing.
I'm out of town that week. I won't be here.
14th is it?
We can.
If not, we could do it the 20th.
That is spring break for Ron. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you know what? That is Easter weekend too. You're right.
So wait, so that, you're saying spring break for Rondout starts like the 11th?
Yeah, it's the 11th through the,
They come back on the 18th.
yeah, come back on Monday.
I think I would be concerned with people not being able to comment. if it's spring break.
Yep, okay, then
I don't know how
I'm
that
gonna,
makes
No,
so I'm gonna make an amendment to the motion that, we change the date to April 20th. Do I have a second on that amendment?
I'll second the amendment.
Okay,
That's our regularly scheduled workshop.
so we'll vote on the amendment to change the 14th to the 20th, and then we'll vote on the resolution itself.
And then should we change the time as well?
Our workshop meeting is 6:30.
we want to get workshop.
We can do it right. We can schedule it at the same time and just do the first thing, and then the workshop meeting will follow.
Oh, workshop, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Unless you want to do it at 6 and then do the workshop at 6:30.
No, I was thinking of the audit. Oh, sorry.
So I have a motion and a second on the amendment. So on the amendment, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. Then on the resolution, we have already a motion and a second on that. So all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Then we don't.
And we don't need the next resolution because it's already on our schedule. So item D is removed. I circulated to you all tonight a copy of the Ulster County application form. You remember, council, that the form we've been using and instructed, there were some questions on it that are HR issues that you're not allowed to ask some of the questions like age. I did a little research. We already use this form. Right now, people fill out a town form and then they fill out a county form. Because the county form has to go to the county. Town form stays with us. Other towns just use the county form. It's already asking almost the same questions that we ask on the town form. It's just not asking any ones that they're not supposed to ask. We apparently have been on our form for a long time. So I'd like to make a resolution that the town board adopts the document County of Ulster application for examination or employment as the town of Rochester employment application form. Second. Okay. Hold on it. I asked Adam to review it because he is our HR expert.
And only because I do a lot of hiring, and over the last 5 years, it seems like every time we come out with a new application, a new form, there's a new reason to modify it. The county form looks like it's been well washed. The things that you get concerned about are obviously age. The only thing they're asking about age here. What's nice is this will be a good universal form for us. It really doesn't matter what position you're applying for in the town of Rochester, basically covers it. But if it's not specific to that job, or if it's not specific to you as an individual, you don't have to answer the additional questions. A good example is on the front is the position you're applying for have a minimum or maximum age limitation. I hate to see that maximum in there, but there's probably a good reason it's there. But if we're hiring the kids for the summertime, and they got to be a certain age, they have to prove it with working papers, and I think that's fair enough. Stuff that I don't know if necessarily has anything to do with us, although Mike, you can tell us, is things like, are you going to be, do you process certification as exempt volunteer firefighter?
That's actually there because under civil service.
Yeah.
If you're a volunteer firefighter, you're in a different class of employee.
Even better.
That's a civil service law.
Yeah.
So that's why it's on there.
As long as that,
And it's actually information we need to know, and I always end up asking every employee that we
Right.
hire, are you a volunteer fireman? And they say yes or no, because there's two reasons. One is it allows them the ability to leave. We, as a board, have agreed to let them leave for calls as long as they're not a note from the chief that says that they were at the call, or continue to be paid for the work while they were gone. The other reason is it puts them in a different class under civil service.
even better. And what's nice is, if it is, jobs that, counteract to the competitive, it even talks about, what kind of things you have to take, and have you taken it before and things like that. I think it's a nice piece of work.
And the fact that we're already having them fill it out anyway, because this is what we have to send to the county, it's kind of silly that we have them fill out two. And one goes in our file. Well, they both go in our file, but a copy of this goes to the county. So this way, we're just gonna have one. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Thank you. I know it seemed like a silly piece, but once Adam made that mention, I was like,
There are people all over our professional this people, and they find reasons to talk about determination if we're not in compliance with it. We could be subject that fixes that problem.
Next, I'd like to talk about this is a very, very rough draft for a moratorium. To walk you through it, let me put it up on the screen. Just a sec. Mary Lou, you got I emailed you a copy of this, correct?
You did. I
Okay.
have to say, I haven't looked at it in great depth because I was working on other things and,
Understood.
it-
And I
it's
know I
gonna-
just sent it. Just sent
Just
it last night.
Right, so one thing I just wanted to ask you is you have building permits, site plans, subdivisions. Did you mean to include special use permits as well?
Yes. Yes. Definitely in the title.
In section 1 also,
Well, it's also in the title, but
yeah.
thank you. We
Yep.
will add that in. So
Can I ask quickly, so agenda item, what do we want to accomplish next? I'm just looking, we still have to do.
I wanna bounce it off people to find out, get feedback. If A, we even wanna do it. B, if people think I'm in the right direction. We need to talk about it in a public meeting. We can't communicate by email about it, so I need some feedback from you. So
Yeah, I was just
what I'm
wondering.
trying to do is a general conversation of, do we even want to do it? Am I in the right direction? I'm not looking to pick it apart piece by piece by piece. I'm looking more to just say, how does everybody feel?
Well, do you want to walk us through the whole thing, Mike, and then we can just have comments
Perfect.
afterwards?
Why
Does
don't I
that
do
work?
that?
It might
Sure.
take less time if that's.
Yep. So I did somewhat my usual. I copied it from a couple different sources. I used the moratorium that was done by the town back in 2007. I used a town that I found who had just enacted the moratorium at the end of last year, so it was current. And then I went back to, like in the purpose and the findings, I included a lot of sections from our comprehensive plan. So basically, a moratorium is a police power that is allowed for items of local concern. We talk about the sections of town code that is consistent with under municipal home rule. We talk about the sections that it supersedes of New York State town law. And then it also will supersede and suspend the provisions of our town code which require planning board and town code enforcement to accept, process, and approve applications. The purpose is that we become concerned with the present zoning and subdivision laws for increased development, environmental sensitivity, health, safety, and general welfare. We talk about placing a moratorium on consideration and approval of residential and commercial subject to subdivision or site plan, pending completion and adoption of those two chapters. About the time frame of how we got to where we got. In 2006, we adopted the comprehensive plan, which does say, by the way, that it should be relooked at within 15 years or 10 years.
Supposed to be 10.
10, yeah. So we're proposing a 6-month window to finalize the zoning and site planning and subdivision updates proposed by the ZRC. Then the findings, we basically say that we call them actions that are subject to discretionary review, site plan review, or subdivision. And yes, we'll add special use in wherever it needs to be. We say unchecked and non-regulated actions create unreasonable risk, confidences, and other uses. We talk about protection of the town's interests, and to complete the zoning updates that happened in 2009 and 2014. 2009 was when we adopted a wholesale change of zoning code and subdivision code from the previous, that was as a result of the 06 comprehensive plan. In 14, it was another wholesale change of definitely zoning and I believe subdivision as well. Although the only reason it was done wholesale is because there were a lot of changes. So rather than try to write a local law that would become 30 pages long, with change this, change this, change this, we just replaced the existing with the proposed. Much of it stayed the same between 09 and 14. I then reference in section D the goals directly from the comp plan. That's what all section D is. E, we talk about how we adopted in 2009 and in 2014, and then we've made 3 zoning code changes, or 4, excuse me, zoning code updates since then. We also talk about the open space inventory that was done in January of 16. We talk about the natural heritage plan done in January of 18. We talk about the comprehensive plan and land use code review committee convened in 2020, which reported back to us last year. This is was striking. And from January 2021 to the current, there have been 29 subdivision applications, 18 applications for lot improvement, 10 applications for special use or site plan. I also this afternoon got the data from the building department of the number of buildings. It was in the 700 range for the same time frame. And then we're saying that the complete adoption of local laws to update these will be done within 180 days of the effective date of this local law. Prohibited actions. These will be things that could not continue during the moratorium. We can end the moratorium early if we decide after 4 months, hey, we're done. We can by resolution end the moratorium. It also says that we can add up to two additional periods of up to 3 months, so it would never be more than 1 year. That has to be done by resolution. Mary Lou, if you do an extension that you've already asked for, does the extension have to be a local law?
No, it can be a resolution.
Okay.
If it's in the original local law, you can continue it by resolution.
Because I don't think they put the extensions in the original law.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Kate was pointing out in 2007, they did a local law every time they did an extension, but I don't think the extensions were in the original.
And I don't know, I was not the attorney at
I know you weren't the attorney. I know. I knew you were going to say that.
that.
So I'm saying site plan or special use permit for anything larger than 4,000 square feet. The reason I use 4,000 is that's sort of the trigger that we use in our zoning code currently for low impact. We have low impact medical facilities that are 4,000 square feet or less. 4,000 is the magic number. In 2007, they used 20,000 square feet. That's too big, quite frankly. We don't have that many 20,000 square foot buildings. Maybe somewhere in the middle is correct. This is a placeholder, but I'm telling you, the reason I did 4,000 is because it aligns with our zoning code as the dividing line between types of uses already. So just think about it. You don't have to say yes or no. I'm saying subdivisions for 3 or more parcels. So if you're right now, if you're proposing, if you're doing a 2-lot subdivision, you can move through. Bear in mind that there is a waiver process for any of this, where anybody can come. And there also are exemptions that are coming up too. Maybe we want to change that to 4, maybe we want to change it to 5, I don't know, but right now it's a placeholder. Acceptance, consideration, preliminary approval or final approval from the zoning board of appeals on any action or any application for a waiver, variance, actions prohibited herein. So, so instead of the ZBA doing it, it's going to go to the town board. Essentially, that's what it's saying. The waiver process during the moratorium is ours, because it's basically our local law. This I took from the other code. I don't know if we really need it. The issuance of any permit for highway utility work in connection with any action is prohibited. So if you were building a new driveway and you couldn't build your project, you can't start building the driveway anymore. Or highway utility work, you can't start doing, digging to put your electric in. You can't do the beginning work on it. The exemptions, any application that has been made to the planning board prior to February 1st, 2022. So if you've already gotten your application in, or that's one that has been made and approved. So if you've made an application and it's been approved, but you haven't started building yet, you're exempt. That's what that covers. Section B covers any application that has been on an agenda in the planning board. So if you have applied and you've submitted an application to the planning board and you've been on one agenda, you're now exempt from the moratorium. Even if you didn't get your approval, you can continue your process. Any application for a zoning district change, that is within the board's purview. We can consider it whether we want to do it or not. As Mary Lou has pointed out, we don't have to give a reason. We can choose which ones we entertain. So that can still continue. And the same with the economic enterprise overlay district. That is our purview. So we would either do it or we don't do it. Any agricultural action that's protected under the Ag and Markets, which is the 25 AA. Traditional single or 2-family residences that are being built on existing lot. So if you have an existing lot and you file a building permit to build a 1-family or 2-family house, have at it. You still do it. I added in thoughts that maybe we would have it adopted. Permit application for accessory dwelling unit. Obviously, if we don't have it adopted by then, remove it. Ministerial permit, that's a fence permit, a roof permit. That's the other the smaller permits that go through the code enforcement office. And then section 7 is waivers, any application which grants the waiver. Section 7, I won't go through all the detail, but it's basically the process of how waiver happens. I put in $100 fee for the application for the waiver. That's up to us if we want to charge it, if we want to do it for free. There is some time and some review on our part. There's some time of Mary Lou, probably. I'll leave that as it is. We have to have a public hearing on the waiver. And then we either approve it or we disapprove it. Secret determination for a moratorium is by law. It's a type 2 action. And the rest is essentially the legalese. If there's any conflicts, the greater, they'll take precedent. Limits town liability, the Article 78 procedure, which anybody who has an issue, if say they apply for a waiver and we deny them, they can file an Article 78. Its enforcement of it is enforced by the code enforcement officer. Violation, if somebody's violating, you have to have a violation in there. I copied that from the normal section, and the effective date is immediately. So with that, what do people think? Do you want to think about it some more, come back next meeting, talk about it some more in detail? Any initial thoughts of?
Can I?
Absolutely,
I have
Mary.
an initial thought. In section 6, and maybe I'm just getting tired and reading it funny. It looks to me that we have A, right? If as long as you made your application prior to February 1st and you're approved before the adoption of the moratorium, you're okay.
Right.
And then B1, it says you're exempt if you've presented, discussed, or reviewed on an agenda at a meeting of the planning board for
Right.
review prior to the effective date. So
I guess we could take
Yeah.
it. We could take the date out in A. It just says if you have an approved application by the town planning board, this doesn't apply to you.
right, but then you go on to say if you have anything in front of the planning board before the date of this local law, it doesn't apply to you. So
Right.
you don't even need the approval under B1. So
So you're saying I
conflict.
don't really need A.
Right, if
What I'm trying to say was anybody that's approved can go ahead and build it, even if they haven't started building. They may not have applied for a building permit, but if they have approval from the planning board. The other one is if you're still in process of being approved.
right, but you can continue with it and you could get approved before the zoning law changes are
Correct.
made.
You could add the word approved to one.
Actually, the intent of it though, Mary Lou, was that if you're in process and the zoning law changes, the new law would still apply.
Okay, see, that's not how it looks to me.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. And this is like I said, I copied this and I didn't really like the way it was worded either, but
Right, so if you can reconcile those somehow or make
Okay.
sure it says what it means. Or
Okay.
what the board would like
so
to
the
do.
intent is that if you were approved, because you've gone through the
Right.
board process and got your approval. If you're in the process, you can continue at your own risk, I guess is the way we've worded it sometimes, or with knowledge that zoning and subdivision laws may change in future or something along those lines.
Right, so maybe you want to take out B1 and then put in a C that is something to the effect that application review can continue if an action has been presented,
Right.
discussed.
Well, yeah,
blah, blah,
I'll
blah.
figure out. the language.
However, applicants should be aware that they will be subject to any
Yeah.
zoning changes.
Because B doesn't say anything by itself. B is just the beginning of all the numbers. So, but
Right.
I understand what you're saying.
If they get approved during the so
They get laws are adopted, then
they're fine.
they're fine.
Right, so we have to just clarify that. And then if you go back to section 5 on F,
Yep.
I mean, the title is prohibited actions. but it just reads funny to me.
Okay, yeah, that
Um,
was direct from the other code, so
I figured it was.
well, I changed it to zoning board of appeals because I think in their town, the planning board may have done something because it just said between the review board.
Right.
And in this case, though, it's clearly a zoning board of appeal. So
Yeah,
I'll
I
talk with you. We'll come up with a way to word it better.
guess, okay. Just read funny.
It does. In general, though.
I think, yeah, I think one thing we should add to section 4 findings.
Mhm.
One of the significant reasons this is necessary is both the code enforcement officer and the planning board have identified inconsistencies in the time code, as well as areas where there needs to be clarification or explanation.
I'll go with the clarifications. I'm not, the inconsistencies are somewhat opinions. So I'll go with the clarifications, though.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure the inconsistencies is factual.
When do we think this will be up for public hearing?
We don't know. We have to get it ready. We have to refer it to the county. We have to refer it to the local planning board. I wanted to get feedback from you guys. I'll bring changes to the next meeting and tell me when it's ready for public hearing. That's not a question I can answer. That's a
No,
question. we
it's
all
I
have
was
to
thinking of
answer.
process.
More a question, when you say it's a police power,
That's definition. That's not my choice of words.
It's a constitutional police power. We have the power to,
We have the power to
Regulate health and
override, under
safety.
municipal home rule, we can override the state, and that's called. a police power.
it's police power is health and safety.
okay, yeah, that's, I'm just curious.
It's terminology that comes out of state law.
I like it. One more.
So I have I'd like to look into the, section 5D, like you said, placeholder, the 4,000 square feet. I want to just take a little time to do some math.
Yeah, and please, I thought 20,000 was too much. Like I
Yeah.
said, I picked 4,000.
Right.
It's in our definitions
Right.
of the divider between a small
Yeah.
use and a larger use. Somewhere in the middle is probably more the right answer, but
And
as far as
4,000,
justifying it, we can justify the 4,000. If we pick another number, somewhat arbitrary.
Right.
and
Sorry,
4,000 feet is also that number that's between a type 2 and an unlisted or type 1
Good
action
point.
Okay.
for seeker. So DEC kind of says, hey, if it's 4,000
Yeah.
That's
least for
actually, now I
envir-
remember, that's why we use
Yeah,
that.
that's why.
4,000
for
in our code.
environmental purposes.
Yeah.
And then the other one is, I wonder, I know we were just talking about it at the exemption section with open applications. I would want to maybe consider having, like, if they've had a public hearing, what I would hate to see is an applicant slowed down in the planning board process because everybody knows there's, I would
Well,
not want
that's,
there to be
and that's the
bias
problem,
there.
though. If we set it at a public hearing, somebody has already started the planning board process. The town last time did that you had to have a neg declaration or a public hearing.
Mhm.
Sometimes you don't get to that till 3 or 4 meetings. Somebody has invested a fair amount of money into
Right.
their project already. And if so, that's why I went the other extreme. I'm saying if you've been in front of the planning board, you're good to go.
Right, but it says you're good to go at your own risk if we change the law.
Right.
Right.
So they may have extended.
Somebody could say, okay, I'm gonna, either withdraw my application or I'm gonna put it on hold and I'm gonna wait to see the outcome of the local laws and then I'll come back.
Right, and you can do this whichever way you like. Some towns also say, hey, if you've been on the agenda, the planning board can continue regardless of changes made after the moratorium. The planning board can continue to review your application under the current law and can approve it under the current law, even if the law changes
do that,
before
yeah.
approval.
Yeah, my concern is I mean, a lot of it, some of it's waived, right? We're waived, if someone's just getting, that's
Right,
indeed, I'm thinking about people that have invested significant
Well,
amounts of
that's-
money.
but
And
that's,
if they then all of a sudden can't do it anymore because we passed the law, they're out.
well, then we should think about changing what Mary Lou said,
Yeah.
that if you're in front of the planning board, you continue with the existing law. But by saying public hearing, you're actually being more restrictive.
Yeah.
Because who knows when you get the public hearing?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I'm kind of going in the direction.
Okay.
that I don't think Mary Lou
It's
is
not what
advocating-
you said though, initially. You
Oh.
said you were thinking public hearing being the divide.
What I was trying to say is I didn't like the proceed at your own risk.
Okay,
That maybe we should give a carve out for people that is on, like, that's all I was.
so we can forget that part and just say, if you've been in front of the planning board, you continue with the laws as they are.
Because you'd have people in certain circumstances racing the planning board.
Well, and
to
that's,
get
Yeah,
something done.
absolutely.
and that's why,
Put more stress on it.
and that's why I was saying
Right.
that the proceed at your own risk, because the new laws will apply.
Too much money though to proceed at your own risk. Somebody's got, $1 million invested in something and then it changes.
Okay,
Not fair.
well then, think about it. We don't have to decide tonight. I already talked more about it than I intended to. I just wanted to get a feedback, so. The people think though, it's something we should consider and continue to work toward.
I think we should continue to work on it.
Okay.
The only qualm I have without like reading through all the language in detail is I don't think we should charge a fee for the waivers.
And that's
I
fine.
think
And
that's-
that's,
Just for.
I can hit delete.
Exception, we don't.
we do have to remember though, that Mary Lou's time is involved in that every time we have one of those public hearings and process. Taxpayers pay for that, so we just have to remember that.
Yeah.
So, it was intended to cover some, not all, but some of her time is the reason it was in there. So. Okay, moving on to the scoring of.
You need me for this part, Mike?
I do not.
Speaking of taxpayers' money?
Yep, we do.
Okay,
That's why I put it last.
Good night. I
Have a
am
good
going
night.
away until next Thursday. Mike, happy birthday. It's been lovely
Thank you.
spending with you.
Yep,
Thanks for inviting me to your birthday party.
thank you.
Night,
Does
everybody.
that- You say you're away till next Thursday. Does that mean you won't be at Thursday night's meeting, or you will be?
Nope, I will be at Thursday night's meeting.
Well,
I
thank you
planned-
for scheduling your vacation around our meeting.
I did do that.
I know you did. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys. Night.
Yeah, Mary Lou.
Right.
Okay, so what we're gonna do tonight is go through the scoring by the 5 board members. I'm gonna enter that in. We're gonna go vendor by vendor. I'll put it up on the screen. We will enter that. Then what we'll do is we'll figure out the pricing. And Michael, I'm gonna need a little help from you. Those trying to make heads or tails of some of the pricing. And well, we can decide if it's too convoluted and too confusing, we can decide it's not clear enough. It didn't answer the
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that did jump out to me, like there was
Yeah.
some people combine
Let's-
the hosting.
let's go through the scoring part first. So it's gonna be a little bit slow unless somebody wants to read me scores, but we can do it this way. So proposal 1 from board member 1, you can see it up on the screen. Putting in the numbers. I didn't pre-populate these, but just
Does it make sense if we sign a few of these bills?
Yeah, can I do totals while you're pointing?
you go right ahead.
All right.
You guys sign bills, absolutely.
There we go.
Take care, Mark, thank you. Yeah, that's a great idea, Adam.
Nice.
Maybe get that in the place and that's it, man.
Hey, it's up to you. You wanna
Is
start?
there a last thing?
Oh, well,
Yes,
honestly, I would.
that may make it go.
We're gonna have.
I'm
some-
always afraid that I'll have a phone that's an
We
emergency.
will have, we will have a few resolutions, but it'll be on the Zoom. and I'll
Okay.
also take notes.
All right. Well,
So,
you don't mind it.
I don't know. It's gonna be sort of slow going here, unfortunately. this process.
Spring is coming.
Oh,
I hope Molly is back, but the dog's lost it.
Switch back.
Guys, why would Adam switched to see?
Yeah, he kept switching, and so I switched mine.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
I'm not.
Doesn't matter.
I was firm halfway until
Have a good
halfway.
night, everyone.
Good night, Kate.
And then I couldn't. The inconsistency was bothering me too much.
Oh, now I'm adding it back in.
And then. Because he switched back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about it.
Are you? Perfect. Oh, yeah, no, for certain people, it's gonna drive you nuts. I switch colors and whatnot. Too.
I knew you had a different color.
I think it just started that.
Don't make it.
We'll do it on Thursday night.
For my birthday, right?
Exactly. I told you, this is exactly what my.
Every decade birthday, I was telling somebody that, I remember where I was every decade birthday, and I will remember where I was for 60 now because of you guys, so. Does anybody remember what the minimum number we set for continue? 70? Yep. So the first one, if you see it there, it is for the 62 average, so
So it's out.
disqualified.
Which is in the scoring REs, if you take yourself out and not even high scores consistently, then your vote kind of counts less on average. You guys are thinking like the Olympic ice skating judge, you know? Everybody gets a high score, but the highest. But I know you want to score it by standard, you know, like by the definition.
Yeah, you don't want to compare them against each other. when you score, right? You wanna-
Right.
Right, no, I didn't mean to do that, I just very strict on my scoring.
Yeah,
That's it.
I did mine. I had a base paper and then it went up or down from there.
I will say I know more about websites now than I ever thought.
Yeah.
Some projects that the different companies have done.
That was the best part.
Were you clicking on some of those?
Oh, yeah, I checked what's in for all of them.
Oh,
Did you also do it on mobile?
Yes. And also I always check the company's website.
see if they get it.
Well, the shoemakers kids, right? There's what their website. Reading resumes of executives in California.
I did that too.
Okay, vendor two has a 76.6.
What happened with this 4,000?
This is why I can't, can't do both at the same time. What happened with what?
Oh.
No, we can't. We gotta,
Where's this 4,000?
let me see what the question is.
I didn't see this one.
I can tell, I figured it out. That's just the statement. The other ones are the actual invoices.
We don't pay from statements,
So
we
we
pay from
don't pay from
invoices.
statements, so that's
Got it.
kind of, I almost told you that, because I knew you thought that. What you would have that. But if you look, there's some of the, that's the, I put a green mark next to it on the statement. Because it's the February statement, but the other ones are invoices from March. It's a. I got the one big enough. Oh, this is a bit. I think as long as all of this is invoices, if the last one is like a statement. I would just look.
Maybe they're
to make
stapled
sure-
out of order.
Yeah, I would just make sure the one.
If it's a statement, it doesn't,
Statement
it
and not-
shouldn't even actually be in there, but the highway department tends to put everything about the account into it.
There's another one. Like that.
Okay.
But yeah, we never pay from a voucher. I mean, a statement. Because that's when you end up paying bills twice. Because an invoice will always have an invoice number, we always have an invoice number.
Those are all 100%.
Yeah, Vicky's. Did you get this? You just like it.
I did. I was looking to- Right.
Oh, this here, this little dot here.
That was the one that I checked. I checked that one. The other one, like I said, I did not check that one. Oh, no, that one, there's a credit. So I have like that.
Right.
The credit got applied to something else. On
If there's anything else I gotta sign, then I'll like to the number. Although shouting out numbers while you guys look at.
Let's try it.
So you can move over here.
It's no worse than you switching back and forth.
Let's see how confusing we can make this 4 meeting tonight.
You're doing a good job. Ready to go?
I didn't lay this out very well. I'm on proposal 3, board member 3, and I just did the 18.
So you want straight down?
Yeah.
18.
Yeah.
18.
Okay, now hang on, because now I gotta go to the next. I'm doing vendor by vendor, so then I gotta go to the next board member 4. Proposal 3, sorry. That's third page.
Now, this is where you're at.
Proposal 3,
Mhm.
board member 4.
And all.
Yeah, yep,
Right down?
yeah, we're doing proposal 3 this course. That's why I don't know if it's gonna make it faster or not.
Yeah. It's 17. 15.
Wait, you can only see the one he's currently on.
I'm gonna go through them all again for price eventually. Okay, vendor 3 is 86.4. So let me save that.
You have a reveal of like things.
Eventually. But that's why it's done, scored the way it is. So it's totally anonymous. I don't know who any of the score board members are. I mean, I may have known at one time, and when I sent them to you, I just randomly sent you, assigned you a number until all 5 were gone, and I didn't pay any attention to who I sent what to who. And the only way I would know is when you emailed it back to me. But I don't even remember. And the vendors match up with the numbers that Kate assigned, but it's totally.
It's coming from a burner number.
That's complicated.
As many as I can.
He's taking Brian Drefty's place, this class clown. Every board needs one.
I've been getting that.
Okay, vendor 4, actually, let me put in 5 because I don't have that one printed. I need board member 1 first for. Again, I have to enable everything. Okay, board member 1 for number 4.
12. 16. 5. 17. 15.
Board member 2.
Proposal 4. 17. 16. 17.
Hang on. Okay.
16.
Okay, board member 3.
8. 12. 10. 10. 8. 48.
You don't have to do total. It does that automatically. Board member 4.
14. 12. 15. 15.
But I don't have to trust you.
Okay.
69.4, so we said 70, right? So numbers out. let me find my regular list. So 1 was out. Right, the score is going to be, One was 62. And when I write it down to start with, there's the 2 small green ones.
Well, I saw.
I'm.
3 files by here.
Charlotte has.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Air traffic control.
Yeah. A lot of. So now we're at number 5. I made a separate sheet for each vendor. What I should have done is put them all on one page and just continue it.
They'll all be the same number.
Let me start with board member 5.
Board member.
I've got
One
it
you
here.
got.
Yeah.
$700. I made a mistake.
We're on number 5.
So you're saying the numbers here were greater than here? Yeah, so I think I agree with that.
Okay, cool. It's not 700.
No, no, it's this one.
Oh,
You do get a prize for being the last person in the public here. There you
we
go.
give you a lot of kudos for sticking it out because this is not exciting, but I appreciate it, believe me. Thank you.
New York State waiting a long time, based on my observation.
Well, and we can say we have a witness that we were doing this totally independently, so. I spent many a night being the only person in the town board before I was on the board. I get it. I get it. Okay, let me share screen so Clayton can see what we're doing. Okay, board member 1 for proposal number
17, 18, 20, 19, 18,
2.
20, 20, 22.
Number 3.
19,
This one.
19, 20, 19.
What if, forgetting about the tape, what is the printout? Does it match the printout match up? Because that's more important than the tape. Tape is just a check of the printout.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, the printout doesn't match.
Okay, I'll look at it.
Oh,
later
yeah,
when
yeah,
we're
we
done
can do it
then.
after
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I just wanted to make sure that I
Printout
was right
doesn't
with
match,
what's
so.
sitting there,
Okay,
that I wasn't seeing too many.
okay, no, that's fine.
After total.
Number
Okay,
4.
I still,
12,
I defer to you.
12,
all right. Fair enough.
15,
Agree to me.
15.
I need to-
I also saw an issue with that.
I need to figure out what the problem is.
Yeah.
We have to do a resolution tonight for the dollar amount, so.
I did.
Okay, so number 5 is 90.2. Save.
No, that's- you did. No, I'm saying the final feature for that.
Oh, this is this one.
Oh, that's.
Number 6 will be our next.
Yeah. There's one of them.
First, I gotta do. Oops. Now close. We're on proposal number 6, right? Number 6. Board member 5. Okay, board member 1.
15, 17, 20, 16, 16,
Board member 2.
18, 17, 18, 17.
Number 3.
18, 19, 20, 17, 15,
And what was number 4?
16, 15, 15, 13,
83, 2, and that's number 6. Seven. You gotta click it and then rather than. Okay, number 1 for 7.
14, 17, 1, 14, 17,
Number 2.
17, 17, 17.
Number 3.
1, 15, 18,
And number 4.
15, 15, 15, 11, 13.
32.2. This is gonna be exciting, huh?
Everything's close, right?
Adam's component on this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We'll have to go through and decide. if this qualifies for both ones. That was 7, so now we're going 8.
Haven't finished selling it, dude?
Yeah.
I'm about
The
Senior board member.
But you know, because he just puts it with his signature wherever he feels like.
Anywhere on the paper, whatever.
Right, you're the slowest. You caught all
I
those.
was the slowest.
This is true, but you guys did catch all the mistakes.
Yeah.
Used to go
But they
sit.
didn't even go.
Exactly.
Yeah, by the time you guys- you guys
Okay,
did-
8, probably mention 8, number 1.
It works out then.
You don't
I've
have
some-
some, I think they'll leave them. Maybe put an after that.
19,
That's happened as well.
18,
And I like it.
I was
I like
the slowest.
Okay, number 2.
19,
We've done this.
18,
I've done those.
That's
Yeah.
finished.
That's done.
Okay, nobody's leaving. So, Great.
18, 20, 19, 18, 20.
And Charlotte, if you do need to go, please do.
I'm just saying, I'm gonna take way more.
13,
after I think so many
15,
stuff, like I wake up every half
15,
hour to out.
13,
No one warned you about
14,
the movies. I'm sure Brandon will. No one told you.
89. This is number 2 right now. We're up to number 9.
9, 9,
Number 9.
What?
The biggest mistake of all.
No.
I just think this one's out of order.
We're both just like, what do we do?
No.
I can't think of it.
They're no country.
Is this a real one?
I'm like, no one.
Oh, you're in abstract 15? Yeah, it's a real one for the transfer station. They only have our transfer station bill for November. Okay, we're on number 9, board number 1.
Well, I'm curious.
Hang on, guys. You guys gotta be
16.
quieter a little bit.
15, 16, 15. Number 2, number 9, 18, 18.
If the collector bill for
Whoever is reading the meters basically called and told us they couldn't read the meter until I told them that the meter is on the outside of the fence. They don't have to be inside the fence. To read the meter, but they didn't know that, so they didn't read our meter, which is why we don't have any readings since November.
okay.
So we don't know.
We don't know. Yeah. I thought it was pretty humorous that they didn't know when their own meter was.
Yeah. Strange things.
Board member 2, I got the first one. So
Oh,
18.
18, 18, 18, 18, anything,
Board member 3.
17, 16, 16, 18, 16,
Board member 4.
12, 15, 12,
Who are they? Who are they?
15,
Think of their
Let's say,
cities.
what's the last number? 80.8 for number 9.
They hope not.
that's Sunday.
Well, Scarlet is not.
Number 10 and
one is
11
not.
are listed as not having the bidding certificates. So let me see if we're even gonna score that.
10 definitely does, but 11 does, doesn't? 11 did.
Oh, I didn't see that.
10 does not.
Okay.
10 didn't.
So we can do a resolution, but let me check 11. I thought 11.
Yeah, but you know what, Deep Keith's got it on here, but it wasn't.
No, I know she does, but they,
They had a bunch of attachments.
they sent us their limited liability insurance.
I
but
think
they
it's in.
didn't- Is it in the middle somewhere?
I didn't see it.
Okay, you're probably right.
I didn't see the two that were listed as not having it.
Oh, okay.
They gave us everything but.
Yeah,
They gave us their insurance certificate, but they didn't sign the non-collusion statement. Crazy.
Send away.
So there you go. And
Yes, it's you.
Oh,
Okay,
they.
so,
You can have that, right?
can I get you guys away from bills to talk about this now? Yep. Yep. Quick recess here. So 70 was. I gotta look at it.
And I was so confused because I was thinking of the one for the bathrooms and I was like, why is only that a $1,600? Like I called in and I wanted to, I have the wrong RFP. She's like, yeah. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, the bathrooms was 60/40 because price is more as important, whereas in a website,
Well, this was at that,
quality
like,
is.
11 o'clock at night meeting, so I completely, like, it was gone.
I get
It
it.
was out of the mind. There was no recollection. I was just like, am I doing this wrong? Do I not understand how this works?
No, it appears you did it right. I'm just looking up the minimum you said. I think Aaron is right, because it's 70.
This is the big rainstorm that was supposed to come through this afternoon.
So 70 is there, so we can remove 1 and 4. 7 and 11. But we'll work on pricing. We want to do that as a group when everybody gets back. So let's just. Wait a minute.
I don't even want to say it again, but can you tell us which ones are?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
I think we would have got there eventually, but I'm gonna save the day, recommendation, sign bills while I was happening.
Yep.
I
Great
might have
idea.
sat there the whole time.
Did I send you last page that, Charlotte had?
Yes.
I did.
I think we did this first.
This got lucky, it was in the middle here.
Okay, so I have the scoring summaries. I'm gonna make a motion that we remove from consideration company 10 and 11 due to not filing the non-collusion statement.
A second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next, I'm gonna make a recommendation that we remove numbers 1 and 4 from consideration as on the responsiveness criteria, they scored less than 70.
I'll second.
And just for the record, number 1 was 62 and number 4 was 69.4. So all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So we are now in considering 2, 4, I'm sorry, 3, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9. So what we're gonna do next is to try to determine what the pricing is on each one as best we can.
Yeah,
Well,
I think.
we're good. Let's just go one by one and do it as a group. I don't mean to stop you, but we just need to do it one by one as a group and try to determine what the price is. I don't mean to be pushy on it, but that's the only way we can do it.
So we're doing a 3-year, right?
So I just closed.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
So I think we need to think of pricing in terms of design, hosting.
We have to do it the
maintenance.
way we said it in, that's why I'm gonna pull what we said in the R.
But I'm saying, when we figure out what their price is, because some people would say X amount per month.
Right, well, we have to figure it out for the same duration. We're gonna have to do the math for that.
Right.
Yeah, but let's, I don't mean to cut you off, but we just need to do it exactly the way we said in the R in order to keep it legal.
I didn't have my pen, so somebody else would see which ones we're looking at.
So we get,
One's out.
Four's out.
Four's out.
So we're asking for the duration of the 3-year contract. We're asking for the website design fee, the annual fee for hosting. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong spot. I looked once. Price scoring, the bidder's design fee is the total of the hosting fee for the duration of the 3-year. So it's their design fee, whatever they're gonna charge us to host for 3 years. So if they're billing us by month, then we multiply by 36, whatever their monthly charge is.
Right, but but the other thing I think we need to take into consideration is there was an expectation of ongoing maintenance of the website, and some people had a charge for that.
We didn't, we'll have to, let's take that one. But we have to, the design fee, total fee for hosting the fee. So if maintenance is part of the hosting charge, then yes, it comes into it. If it's an additional thing that, because some of them were like, we could do these services for this much, and those don't get included. So what we said was for the scoring was the design fee plus the total, that's the key word, for the hosting fee. So if maintenance is part of hosting, We were really looking for a flat rate, and that's what we should have gotten, unfortunately. So our first one we're gonna do is vendor number 2. One is out. The number 2 is. Yeah. Did I get them out of order here? I did. Yeah. No, that's number 3. Am I not right? No, we don't have it.
You can use mine, 'cause I added it up.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I have it, Aaron. I just stuck the number 1.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so number 2 is quoting us, the website design and development is 27,000. We all agree on that? The training and the guidance hourly cost is $100.
They said if it's outside of the scope of the RFP, then
Right.
they would charge, but if it's inside the scope. then
Right,
they would
so I don't
still-
think we count that $100 per hour. Providing video, in-person walkthroughs. The video was one of the nice to have things.
Mhm.
So, and then the yearly cost of hosting the website is 400, so that's yearly times 3, 1,200 plus the 27,000, 28,200. You all in agreement on that? So that is the bidder's price. What we're gonna do is we're gonna figure out which is the lowest, and that will be then entered in later.
Are we supposed to be seeing it?
You will in just a second. I didn't share yet.
Oh,
Is it the,
Yeah, I'll share the form so you see it.
oh,
Which one is this? This was number 2.
we're seeing it, but
You're not seeing it?
we are, but nothing's happening.
Yeah, but
Please move this window away from the shared application. I don't know what that means. Let me stop share and reshare. I see it, right? 28,200
20.
in the bidder's price.
Mhm.
Nobody's
Yep.
seeing it up on the screen. To save that, we're gonna go to number 3. Did they just come up or did? Doesn't say. No, I gotta stop share and reshare.
Trying to stop share so we get them all in. So I'm going back.
Yes, if you guys are okay with that.
I'm fine with
Yeah.
that.
Okay, number 3, we need to figure out their pricing. Let me jot these numbers down too as we go.
Yeah.
I'm writing
I'm
them
writing.
while we're going.
What did we say the number 2 was?
28,200.
That way we'll know which is cost.
mm,
This one, the scoring or the pricing is on the back, toward the
Yeah.
back, page 24.
So, the
Actually, not 22. it's
25.
Right.
25.
So the total site cost excluding maintenance and support is 38,220. You know, that's the cost of development.
Yeah,
And I don't know what this monthly SEO reports.
It's search engine optimization, which they don't be interested in. So it's
So it's
not,
an extra.
it's an extra.
Maintenance, that's an extra. It's only if we ask.
Sounds like you need to go with maintenance.
Well,
Maintenance on your car.
yeah, I mean, it's included in terms of security.
Okay, so that's 920 a year, so times 3 then.
No, that's
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, per year,
Quarterly site, per year.
per year, $26.
It means they do it quarterly.
And the hosting per month is 170, so 170 times 6.
6,100.
Okay, so do you have the total of the 38,220, the 926 times 3, and the 70 times 36?
7,118.
47,118?
And you have confirmation on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna enter that in that bid price. Okay, so that number 3, so the next one we're gonna do is number 5.
So
4 is out because it scored a 69.4. Remember, I'm not sharing on the screen. So we're gonna look at number 5.
One is the project cost.
Just spreading this.
Well, that's an option. So this one has, they have an alternate payment plan spreading it over 4 years. But we're only gonna count the fee. But their design cost was, so the one-time fees, the initial reoccurring service fee, 4,400.
Right, so I think we total up these 3, so it's 12,000 or 13,200.
I'm not sure it says that,
I
though.
think that's them spreading their total cost over the 4 years.
It is.
Yeah, so
So
it's
it's-
The initial-
7,600. But what's this initial
No,
annual recurring service?
so I think this is based.
I'm seeing this that he's not charging us for the design,
No,
This is the total cost.
but
It's the total cost. and
The
total
bottom.
payment.
Well,
So
You're
that's
saying
just-
if you do a 3 years, it's 4,400 a year, well, in the 4th year, it would be more, right?
I think what they're saying, yes.
Yes.
So that's but the total of these first 3 payments, the design fee. The design fee,
I don't see that.
yeah. that's-
It doesn't say that. It says total 30-year CPA paid.
Provide zero interest payments that provide the one-time implementation expense of your project over the first 3 years of your contract. Each payment will also include your annual services.
Right, over the
and
first
other
3 years of her
fees.
contract. Why? Oh, wait.
You know what it is? It's the 4,400 plus the other 4,400, the 8,800.
Oh,
No,
okay,
it's saying
so,
that's included.
so I get what it is. So the first year of CPA payment is 4,400, and then the next 3 years,
No, you total 4,400 times 3 is what it costs to set up the website.
no, I
And then
disagree.
where's- and then
I
where's the
disagree,
maintenance?
Michael. It doesn't say that. It says initial annual recurring service fees are 400, but each,
There's a lot more information on that. Per project along with
okay.
the main price for us.
No, Civic Plus Media is an optional enhancement. That's not,
That's an additional
that's
service.
additional service. That's not the same thing. Now, the project cost is what it is here.
Well, what is it?
I honestly think it's 4,400 a year.
Because what they say, and this is from the first one that you shared with us.
Right.
You can split the 12,000, 13,000.
Well, this is the guy
costs.
that presented to us. He called me up and he said he made it even cheaper. So I'm wondering if he removed he didn't tell me what he did.
Would they, so initially, this one looks different from that other one. Initially, they showed a total and then they were like, or you could sign a 3-year contract and
spread the whole.
Yeah,
over
but they're
3 years.
confusing it by bringing this
The
fourth
fourth
year
year.
in here, but it says divide the one-time implementation fee of your project over the first 3 years of your contract.
Each payment will also include your annual services and other fees.
So it's everything.
Yeah, I think
is
it's all
included.
inclusive, and then it goes up in the fourth year.
Right.
This is like a teaser.
So what you're saying is it's 13,200,
Yes.
400 times 3
Yes.
for everything. Okay.
Their timeline wasn't a year for this one though, right? Like they're not saying it's a year to launch the
No.
website and that's
No,
the first
no.
year, correct?
No,
Okay, yeah, that's
they-
where I was
Right,
confused.
but
I thought they were-
but those things you should have calculated in your timeline scores. So-
No, I did, but I was just saying, I thought that might have been their justification for the fourth year.
Oh.
on there. And if they
No, I
counted it
think
as a
he's-
1 year.
I think I remember him saying
In
that
the fourth year.
in the fourth year it goes up by a certain
All right,
percentage.
now then that makes sense.
Yeah.
That is- I
This is-
follow that.
And this is.
Yeah, but that's a 5% increase.
Yeah.
I remember him saying.
Yeah.
the fourth year
Wait,
goes up.
that's not in the contract, that's just if you want.
Right. So it's 13,200.
But that includes their hosting.
Yes.
Yes. But that also means that every year, that's what you're paying for the website.
Right. But that's still, these other ones were paying 20 or 30,000 in the first year.
And then you're paying
And then you're
several
paying
thousand
less.
dollars.
So this, way we're spreading it out for 3 years, it makes it easy to budget. But we'll continue on. I mean, I think we may have found the answer here, but we'll continue on. So that was. We have to at least review the others. Number 6 is next.
But this spreadsheet is.
I am, but I'm just saying 13.2 is considerably cheaper than.
Yeah.
47.
And that is the next one for us.
The next one is.
Oh, wait.
It's on page 30, their index is wrong, it says 32%.
Well, this one doesn't even have pages in it, does it?
They're on the, they're on the.
Oh, they're on the
left
left-hand side.
Yeah, they're on the.
Oh.
The left side of the right.
I see him
page.
now.
I
I see him.
totaled it for us already, if you want.
Well, let's make sure we all confirm. Instead of, so we have 53,680 as a design fee. And then we have the web hosting in the Google Cloud. Is that, Michael, help me out, is that a necessary thing? Or is that,
Yeah.
okay, so it's 495 times 36 and 1450 times 36.
Yeah, and also I don't know what we would want to put as the 10-hour a month retainer. Oh, that's.
Well,
that's
1450 a month
that's the
for a
retainer.
10-hour month retainer. So we'll
Alright.
say 36 months and 10 hours a month.
So that's 88,900.
Glad we didn't have to do the first one with the price.
I have to say, when that was where we started, I was just like, oh boy, what are the recipes gonna entail?
Is this the one, someone that has the option?
What, this one?
No, this is not.
No.
Are you talking about the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I just,
Yeah, I get the same thing, 7,020 plus this, is 120. So if you guys got 123.
88,900. Are we still not talking about 6?
Oh, you guys are.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Number 6.
Yeah.
Keep going with that.
Yeah, so are you guys in agreement? Because I'm not doing the math. I'm trusting you guys to
I
agree.
got 123,700.
No, she got 88,900.
So,
That's a big
so
difference.
isn't it the 495 plus 1450 times 36?
Correct.
So go for
Did you do the retainer by 36?
plus
Or by
the
12?
495 times 36 should be 70,020 just for the hosting charges. And then the web page design is the 53 stage, right?
Yep.
No,
What's
the
the number?
hosting charges would be 17,000.
What am I missing? That's 495 a month.
That's
36 plus the 1450 retainer times 30.
Adam added,
Oh,
Adam
you added
added
the
the
two
two
together.
together. Multiplied by 36.
Got
Because they were both 36.
And add the 53,680.
So what's the number you got, Adam?
Is 123,700.
Read me the retainer again, Robin.
That's okay. So I just added the retainer and the web support together at 1945, so it was 70,020 for the.
Oh, that's what it was. I missed the digital.
Plus the,
The design of 50.
Design.
The 123.
120, yes.
okay.
So the next one, the
Is-
design is 45.
Hang on, let's all get on the same page.
I'm on the
What page, yeah?
I know you are, but I'm not.
So next,
It's the second to last page, it's after, it's right before the, bidding certificate.
and we got this one figured out.
So, yeah, well,
Based on the law.
I need backup. So the 45,500
Is the
is the
design,
design.
and then 18,900 is the total of the annual maintenance and the annual hosting.
So that's 6,300 times 3, 18,900. So it's 64,400, right?
Yep.
And that was for number 7.
Came up with what?
64,400.
Oh, that one's on.
This is really helpful though, right?
Oh, the Gantt chart?
What's it called?
Gantt chart, Gantt chart. I don't know that one.
Okay, moving on to number 8.
It's like, page 52.
Yeah, I kept
Oh, it's in the folder.
2,900 times 3. Oh, no. 2,900 times 2. That's
If
all.
the first year investment is 11,900 plus.
Plus 2,900 plus
Times,
2,900.
yeah.
So it's 5,800 plus 11,900, which is 17,700.
Wait, why are you saying 2,900? 2,900 is only for years 2 and 3, right?
Yep.
Correct.
And then the
And
grand total
11,900
first
for the
year is
first year.
11.
Right, okay.
So 11,900 plus 5,800,
17.
17,700. It wasn't actually, the scoring was, the pricing was not as difficult as it appeared. It is.
So,
Yeah, I was.
I think the ones we eliminated were the. Okay, and we're on number 9, the last one.
This is the one with the,
Which is different, yeah, factors.
I think we should score it at the basic package.
Yeah.
and they even said that's what
But
we
they also-
asked for. They said. that's what they were-
So 42,000 for the plan A.
What
Yeah.
page is the pricing?
Oh,
the
Way in
last,
the back.
second to last.
43,000 and then 20,000.
Where's the 42,000?
It's in the, it's in the
Plan-
middle, plan
In the middle?
It's got the window on the outside.
Oh, there it
A.
is.
Yeah.
Green lettering on a black background is bad.
Yeah.
Can't read it.
Not a good time.
What's the 67? Oh,
That's
that's,
B.
so we're gonna go with plan A. So 42 plus 20,700, right? So we're saying 62,700. Okay,
That's what I did last.
Me. okay, so our lowest price is the 13,200, so I'm gonna work backwards. So they score a 12.6316. This is proposal number 9. What we need to do is determine if we're going to award any bonus points. If they are, and we said we would award bonus points for MWBE, veteran-owned, or a local vendor, or any additional valued added services. So we can agree amongst us up to 10 bonus points. I think I'd like us to just come to a consensus. If they qualify, what the bonus point should be. I seem to remember that this one was,
Query was.
they are a SBA small disadvantaged entity in a New York MWB.
That's number 9.
That's number 9. I'm working backwards because I got 9 up on the screen.
So
So it's,
do we want to award something? Are we saying we should agree and then?
We should
what-
agree what the bonus point is.
Yeah.
As a whole, up to 10 points. So they are an MWB.
so that,
They're not in Ulster County. So I think we don't give them, in my opinion, we should agree that an MWB is worth this many points.
There's how many? There's 3 criteria that we gave. them.
The criteria are, actually, there's 4. It's an MWB certified vendor, a veteran-owned vendor, a local vendor from Ulster County or contiguous county. And then we can also award bonus points for additional value-added services that maybe make them stand out.
this is a
To me, I think the last one is like what
1, and then the rest are 3. That's what I'm.
Yeah.
Make
That-
it even.
perfect.
love it.
Cool.
Okay.
So they get
This
3.
is a contiguous county.
Is it?
Yeah.
They say New York, New York. I'm talking number 9.
I'm on number 9.
Yeah, where's contiguous county?
Oh, you said I got the, oh, I got you, floor 2. I thought that said floor.
No,
Sorry.
no,
Getting
Ward
late.
2, New York, New York.
I
Manhattan.
just had eye surgery.
Manhattan, we're not contiguous, so, but they are an MWE, they're not veteran owned, they are an SBA, you know, we didn't include that in our criteria, so I think they get 3. And that's number 9. So. Okay, so their score is 96.4316. Now moving backwards to number 8.
And you're still not sharing.
Oh, I can. It's just a matter of I gotta reshare each one and it just gets very tedious, but I can do that. I should.
Or you're not just sharing your screen.
I am.
Yeah, but you have to go back.
But
to
you gotta-
each
you gotta-
time he has to go
I have all
down.
the screens open, so I gotta go grab the right screen. So if on Zoom, you gotta close out, you gotta then reshare and then share.
Probably for your
the-
protection, so you don't share something that you don't want to, but.
So-
something like this.
These people were 17,700 and the low price is 13,200. I don't believe they were an MWBE. No, they are located,
They're in Minnesota, and then the other like.
they're in Minnesota.
Michigan.
Did they have any additional services that are worthwhile to us? Would be the only question.
Minnesota's in.
Well, that they're charging for, that they're not charging.
It's additional services that they can offer that we might want.
Yeah, there was.
Was there anything that they were saying that they can offer?
They have,
These people also offer the 3-year payment plan too. by the
Yeah.
way, So, which is nice.
um,
Here's the included features
And
and
then they have-
then toward the back, page 54 and 55.
I mean, calendar event notification modules, online payment portal, facilities reservation.
Well, this is all, 54 is all included, and so is 55 for that matter. I don't see them really telling us any additional features that they can offer.
There are 30.
oh, yeah, I knew there was something.
Okay.
They have
at the
like,
top of page 30,
they have the
like
apps.
Emergency.
yeah, they, oh,
alerts,
yeah,
Oh,
job
yeah,
posting
I
and
wanted to give them a
tracking
yeah, okay, let's give them a point because that is a nice feature.
there.
Okay, so their score is 134.7458. Moving to number
What
7,
was your score, Mike? Sorry.
134.7458. I did, remember last time we had to go to 4 decibels because we were that close. Now we're going to number 7, correct? Stop
Yeah.
share. Share 7.
Whatever it is.
Okay, there's number 7. So the low price, to fit in the price point, is 13,200. Oops, not if I put it in the right spot. Do they get any bonus points? They are a California micro small business. It says on their cover.
I don't feel like there's.
No.
Yeah, I didn't see any.
What about the point for the extra services?
They do have the EMAS.
You know, the first one, the very first one we looked at, did we look at the extra services on that one? I would bring it up because I don't remember. if we did or didn't. 'Cause I know we,
No, because, well, they have Plan A and Plan B.
So they do
So
have
we
extra
could-
services.
So they do have extra services,
but
but
it's more money.
it was like,
It was like 20,000 for
it was like
I-
Plan A and Plan B.
I don't- yeah.
Level 2.
Well, it's not that they're free extra services, it's that they're extra services that we could utilize. It's not just that it's spend more money, like the one with the alerting, you know, the alert system for our residents, that's a really valuable.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of what it's intended for.
But this one didn't have.
Okay,
any that really
This
stuck.
one is, we're talking about number 7.
Number 7 has in their e-alerts add-on, so they have, that's an add-on that you can do.
Okay.
Alerts
Yeah, they have
system.
virtual town hall.
Yeah. and
Oh,
the
well, virtual
town
town hall is what the town used to use, and the reason the town stopped using it is because they were directly subscription to virtual town hall. These guys look like, I'm wondering if it's the same thing, because it was a name of a company. So,
They also have an RFP management on the
yeah.
website.
So let's give them 1 point.
Maybe so that like vendors can like get alerts
Oh,
and
cool.
then send us the.
So they are, so so 9, we're leaving at the 3.
Yeah.
So number 7 is 95.4981. Now we're moving to number 6.
This one is really helpful.
That's a good one.
I don't remember them having any additional services.
What are you?
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
No, we'll put that in the cover.
You ever get a chance to go up there?
Now they are, where are they located?
They're in Colorado.
Okay, yeah, that's not contiguous. I don't see anywhere that they're a small business or anything.
Can we maybe give the 1 bonus point because they already use the platform? we use?
Absolutely.
Because I like that, I would like to stay with WordPress if we can, so we don't have to pay for Drupal or pay to convert to anything.
Yeah,
you
except
know?
the problem is, Drupal is much more secure than WordPress, and, you know, I kind of was looking at the ones,
Yeah.
my personal feeling was, from my investigation, is that we probably should go to Drupal. Because WordPress is, from what I'm seeing, it is what we're using, but that's part of the problem, it's not as secure.
I feel like, well, one thing I say about this one is, I don't know about extra services. I feel like they really fleshed out everything that you were asking for.
So you already gave them points for our presentation.
Yeah, I did.
So we want to give them one?
For what? though?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, because they use.
I'm
it in
saying the platform, but
Okay.
you could- I mean, but you could argue that we shouldn't give them one since you.
Well, that's just my personal preference.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that's not an extra service. That's extra services, the e-blast, the.
Yeah, I didn't see. any-
Using a platform is not really an extra service.
But it saves us on hosting fees compared to Drupal. Or we stay with the same, like we don't have to change our.
We're not gonna change our domain anyway. They will just move our domain to whatever. they do. Everybody I've talked to.
That's fine, we don't have.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, yeah, I'm not seeing anything extra that I.
so their price, well, their price is so high anyway, it's not really gonna matter. 89.6026. I am. They got 6.4026 in price points. The spreadsheet's telling me that.
So
Don't use names.
No, number.
We're on
yeah,
number five,
They're
next.
just to match what Kate put on here, and I don't know why. That confused me when I was reading.
Yeah, it is the
It's
company.
the same.
Yeah.
So I think it's 1 point for extra.
You know where she got it from? It's on their cover page.
Yeah, it's on their cover page, yeah.
I think the other is I think the other on the cover is not their company name. I think that's their product.
Their product name, yeah. That's what I thought too.
Yeah, the company name is on their cover page. And every other page for that matter.
So yeah, 1 point for extra services.
Right, but nothing for contiguous, nothing
No,
for.
we're in.
Okay. So that was number 5, right? Let me get number 5 up on the screen. Okay, 1 point. Their score is 151.21. The next one is number 3.
Did we fill number 5 extra point?
Yes.
We did.
I think number 3 gets, and I think a little.
They get a little, yeah, they get a contiguous one in, and then they have extra features on there.
They do have additional services. They have a
Are they
bunch of
considered
additional
contiguous?
Yeah, Fort Jervis is.
Fort Jervis is Orange County. That's the big one.
Oh, it is on?
It's orange.
I mean,
It's
I have
orange.
an office.
It's not solid. But either one would be
This is a good
contiguous.
example.
So they get 7 bonus points, 3, 3, and 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're interested, I can provide.
I'd like to see your collection.
And
No, the one.
their price is 110.2089. And the last one, number 2.
Number 2 is in Ulster County.
I
I think that's it. There were some mention of additional services, I feel like, but it was just, I think, logo.
Oh, yeah, it was logo, yeah, it was logo design, that's what it was.
I think we're pretty good with it.
Which I think, yeah. And we
The
were pretty
one we
standard,
always
you know,
use
like-
for.
There's gotta be a process to change that, right? We can't just decide.
No, we can.
Someone
We can
can
just change
change
the
it up.
seal of the town. Peanut butter
It's
jar,
not the seal, it's the logo.
logo.
It's-
Precision.
I vote for a peanut butter jar, for our Allergerville.
I've been trying for 10 years to get a peanut butter festival and haven't gotten much. How many extra points did they get?
Three.
3. They are 107.685. So
creation of peanut butter.
I
No?
would confirm.
Let's not get sidetracked. Let's stay on task here. It's 10:30 at night. Still got to approve bills. So we have a score of 151.200. We have a score of 134.7458. We have a score of 110.2089. We have a score of 107.6851. The other three scored under 100. Do we want to ask the top four to interview? Do we want to ask the top two to interview? Do we want to? The only reason I say either 2 or 4 because the third and fourth are very close.
Mike, what's the, in order? I'm sorry.
So in order, number 5 is at 151.200. Number 8 is at 134.7458. Number 3 is at 110.2089. Number 2 is at 107.6851. I might as well tell you the rest. Number 9 is 96.4316. Number 7 is 95.4981. And number 6 is 89.6026. So my feeling is we either go just with the top one. Well, there's 3 choices. We either go with the top one, we request the top 2 to come interview with us it would be in an executive session. What we do is we set up a Zoom meeting with them, or they can come if they choose to. We'd go into executive session, so the other person can't hear. And then, so we either do the top 2, or in my opinion, if we go beyond, we should do the top 4, because the difference between 2 and 3 is only 2.5 points.
Michael, what did we budget for this year?
We budgeted 12,000 for this year. Now, bear in mind, these costs are over a 3-year period, so 1, 2, and 4 are within that budget range. Number 3 is not, but because number 3 scored higher than 4, we can't really offer 4 an interview and not 3.
I know it might be hard to set up, but I would be.
The top 4.
I would also want the top 4, because the 3 and 4 are the local ones, the other 2 are not local, so I prefer to try to keep it local. And hear them out.
I'm the opposite. I think the spreadsheet did its job, but I think just visually and based on what we already know, I think there's a pretty clear cut there. But I'll defer to the.
Well, personally, the first and the second,
Yeah.
I scored them both similarly. I'll be honest, and the price is similar between 1 and 2 as well, which is why they scored similar. They're $4,500 difference over 3 years, so it's $1,500 a year difference.
So what does that mean for the interviews?
We bring it down to 2 interviews instead of 4.
Well, the question is, do we want to just award it to 1? Do we want to do 2 interviews, or do we want to do 4 interviews?
I was asking what your perspective.
Oh. I would like to hear the 4. I mean, it's time. It's up to you guys on what you think. I kind of agree with Adam, and I see the price of number 3 as being kind of out of our league, but they scored well, which means because their price is high, that means they may have been the highest. No, they weren't, but they were
got the
close.
bonus points.
They got the bonus points. That's where they bumped up points, because they got 7 bonus points. But that's why we put them in.
We feel those things are important, and it's a good proposal, and
I mean, the difference in the first section, the responsiveness between the first 2 is an average of 90.2 and an average of 89. Spread out over 5 scores times, or 5 categories times 5 board members. That's 25. 1 point difference over 25 categories.
Did the top 2 get bonus points or no?
Just for the.
Just for the
access.
additional.
They each got the 1.
They each got the 1.
I feel like we could do just the 2 then, because the other 2 one got 7 and the other one got 3, so without the bonus point, they wouldn't have been in the.
we shouldn't award bonus points for not gonna lay it.
Right, they got to be weighed in.
I
I was just saying to try to make a decision between. the
But
2 and 4.
there is a big difference between the number 2 is 134 and the number 3 is 1. I'm just saying if we go beyond 2, that we should bring in the 4. I'm okay if we only interview 2, I'm okay if we interview 4. I don't think we should just award it to the top one. I would like, for me, the score was close enough that I would like to hear both, see another set of presentation from them.
Then I'd like to see the.
We just narrow it down to the 2, is that?
I mean, so the top 2 is a very different type of project from the next 2. So I would like to hear from all 4 of them. I know there's a price difference, but there's also something to be said for a more custom experience as opposed to just. Yeah. But
Well, 3 and 4 were much more small firm. I mean, I'll be honest, 4 looks like it's almost a guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'll be
that's what
honest,
yeah.
that can be good, that can also be bad.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
He wants a full-time job here.
Well,
But that's why
I'm
an
fine with
interview
it.
would be
Yeah,
good.
an interview will pull that out. I mean, we can interview all 4 and it's easy enough to
Good enough.
do. So
Yeah.
do you want to try to pick a date for that? That should be a special meeting because we should give me to half an hour. Should be 2 hours just of meeting and we push through. I don't really want to do it at a workshop meeting.
Yeah.
You want to pick a date for a special meeting? Do you want to look at your calendars and come back next
Yeah, so we'll
week?
come back and we can figure out
Yep.
a date for it.
Yep.
But I don't think I'll make a good decision on that.
Nope.
right now,
So let's then just do we'll do a resolution of tonight to offer interview opportunity to the top 4 scorers. Based on our scoring. And then I will share all the scoring with them. What I do is I make a sheet that shows all the scores of everything, and I'll email it to you, and Kate will get copies. So the resolution is to offer opportunity for interview to companies. Somebody want to give me the numbers? 2, 3, 5, and 8. You want to make that resolution?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
You abstain? So just have to do the final numbers on the bills. So what's the, oh, before we do that, I'm sorry. We have a small, somewhat situation here. We have 3 vouchers that, I got an email from Clark Patterson, our planning board's engineer or review planner. There were 3 outstanding bills more than 60 days due. We had no record of receiving them. They went back and found in their email that they had emailed the planning board secretary and sent me the email. She didn't remember seeing them. They were dated August 31st and September 30th. They never let us know again about them. The problem is both of those projects have been approved. The escrows have been closed out. I don't feel comfortable now going back to these people and saying, oh, by the way, you owe more money. We've given them their approvals already. We have 2 options. We
Can I
can
see
go,
them?
yep. One is Cusack and one is, 2 are Cusack. We can go back to Clark Patterson and ask them to avoid them. I don't get the impression that they're gonna do that because they were really diligent in saying, oh, we emailed these. What I'm frustrated about is on other vouchers, they would put at the bottom past due, these amounts, these voucher numbers, or these invoice numbers. Never for 6 months, they emailed me this at the beginning of March or middle of March.
This is our consultant.
Yeah, but these bills were from September. They didn't even, it was, oh, yeah, we discovered you haven't paid these bills yet. We could ask them to to waive that, or we could pay it out of general fund. We do have $5,000 in the planning board budget to pay for professional services.
Why don't we
I
start with that?
I acknowledge we've received, we did receive it in the process at the time. It's not an excuse when we had the planning board chair transition happening. Now we have a process in place that a printed bill goes to the planning board, and then goes from the planning board office to our office. We've now established the process, so this will never happen. But they clearly didn't offer to say, hey, we'll wait.
This was the only sent us an initial invoice and then never sent us a past due notice. I would kind of argue that with them.
I did, I tried, and I got, we sent it to you, was pretty much the email reply I got. So, and I can't say that they didn't send it, because they sent me a copy, they forwarded the email of when they were sent, so. But they have never reached out again in 6 months about a past due amount, and other vouchers have had a note at the bottom, these are past due, so.
I would,
If we are gonna pay them out of the escrow account, I need you guys to initial them tonight, and I need to add it to the general fund. If you want me to try to fight it, I can bring it back to you next Thursday to sign off.
I think we should argue that they never sent us a past due notice.
Okay. I kind of
And if
stated
it's
that in
their
my initial
normal-
email, but I'll try it a little harder.
Well, like I said, I would say though, the rules, gonna, kind of in a position to get into a bigger discussion with them anyway, about fees and charges and
Well,
everything. And
that's-
this could be the catalyst. for it.
Yeah, well, and that's,
So we might
yes.
get involved and say, listen,
well, I didn't get him involved in the email, and his reply is, you got our answer. And
Okay,
I'm
then-
paraphrasing it, but it's not exactly what he said.
I help us make some
It's more or
decisions.
less what he said. Yeah, I mean, you saw the amount of the escrows again. There was one other one in that packet that still has money in the escrow account, still in process, so I went ahead and processed that one. And one was for 50 cents, that was on mistake. Tim made out the check, he forgot to put the 50 cents on, we made it out to the whole dollar amount, so we paid him the 50 cents. They,
And they're that far along from September, like that's kind of partially not really.
Yeah.
It's not the person, like you said, it's not the person who had that account closed fault.
No, it's absolutely not, and
And it's not necessarily.
and these applications have been closed out for months.
Yeah.
I, in good conscience, couldn't go back to that person and say, hey, you owe us this money.
No,
At
I
least
don't
I
think
couldn't.
that, I
If
don't.
the
think
board
that's
thinks I
fair.
should, I will.
No. I don't
We've
think
told
so.
them that they're done, that they got their sign, they paid what they thought was their balance on escrow, and they have to come back and say, oh, by the way, we need another $2,000 or $3,000.
We just double check that, make sure that they don't have a bill outstanding and they're in compliance. and
Oh,
everything
what do you
like
mean, check what?
that. With the.
No, the escrow accounts have been closed. Because my office handles the escrow account, so that's why they're in there.
Maybe they, are checks and balances would say, because one didn't happen, the other one wouldn't happen either, and they're still open.
No, I mean, we zeroed them out and they got their approvals. So there's really nothing we could do.
Do we have a contact with CEO that might?
There never was a contract. This has been around, they started with the town, they've been with the town for 14 years. They started in 2008. But there was never a contract. It just was a verbal agreement.
Yeah.
But I also noticed in the new vouchers, the planner's price went up another $1.50 an hour.
No notice of it other than the bill. Yeah, it's not good business.
So,
I try to
Okay.
argue with again with them again, but yeah.
We're
It's
gonna just,
clear that
I
we're
think,
not-
I don't know what your, said, but even see if there's anything they could do. Because we have to pay for this out of our taxpayer funds, not out of the escrow.
Because they waited so long to notify us of this, of a past due balance.
I agree.
I can tell you what my email said. Yeah.
But not necessarily asking them to absorb all of it. but
No,
there's
maybe
No,
there's
but they should.
A middle
discount
ground
it.
or something.
I said we reviewed the 60-day plus past due invoices as requested. The amount tested is our error. The amount the last check was made out for, and the difference will be paid. That was 50 cents. Regarding the other invoices, these have never been received by either the supervisor or planning and zoning offices. The balances also were not reflected on invoices received after the dates of service indicated as outstanding. These are not the first invoices not received last year, which is true. There were others that came in about 3 months late. Those dates of service occurred after Nicole became secretary, so the change last spring of secretary is not the reason for the breakdown in prices. I'm unsure why they were never received. They did then, after this email, they did go back in their server and find the email and send me the email. So, but I say in 2 of the 3 projects, the escrow accounts have been long closed as the review was complete. I'm unsure now how we can go back with an additional invoices to these projects. And I got emails basically showing me when there were 2 different emails when they were emailed, because there were 2 different dates.
And their email to Nicole's correct email.
Yeah, it definitely was
Everything
correct. Yeah.
spelling was correct. That's the only thing.
But the final reply was, it seems we have done our part here, but perhaps we need to set up an in-person meeting. So, so I'll reach out and say, here's the situation. You know, can you help us out?
Well, 14 years of business together, exorbitant rate recently, failure to announce that they should bring their share to us too. I don't think it's fair for us to absorb that whole thing. It's not 100% all our fault. They just can't saddle it on us like that.
She says she sent an email to the billing department on 11/17 stating from that point on, we want the invoices emailed to Nicole, only to Nicole, and that is correct. So we established the process, and so since November, we run it smooth. Because what happened is sometimes they were going to Nicole, sometimes they were going to me, sometimes they were going to Lauren. There was no consistency. And
So no one knew.
Right. Now they're saying the 210-4 invoices were mailed out in regular mail. That's what they say, but we never received a copy of them. But then again, the mail in the last couple of years. has been a
Where would
mess.
it help?
Well, they would have been
Your
mailed,
office or
probably
Nicole's
Nicole's, but. So, anyway, I'll try to reach out to them and I'll
And
ask them.
well, we're happy to have a first meeting.
Yeah,
but
yeah, we
just
really
say
like to talk
the
to them,
the
actually.
email could consist of us just saying, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
To discuss our.
Okay, you want to hand over vouchers and I can try to make sense of anything here that we. So
You
what?
want to talk about the general fund? one?
Yeah, but let me have it so I can sort of look at it.
Sure.
These should all be good, right?
Yeah, all
Yeah.
the rest are fine. So how I mark this, so. These are all checked out and accounted for in here, what their costs, except for, so which is the one Michael saw, was 700.
100 is not on the tape anyway?
No, and it's, some of them, like, I even checked the only between, on the tape between
Yeah,
these 2 marks.
I'm just-
None of these are accounted for either,
oh,
within.
well,
Like,
do those,
these total over that 730, they'll equal like 1,100 change.
which of these ones, because I can't really tell.
Uh,
Because there's so many dots that I don't know which I'm looking at. 'Cause
Only the
there's
ones
only
on
3
the,
dots here on the right.
oh, because that was marked in the, they will say that up again, so. The 2898
Yeah, that's a.
to the 60.
Yeah, I wanna look at these.
To the 68.
To the 68, 16. Those can't, those numbers can't equal 11. There's no way those numbers. equal.
I didn't see any of them.
And
I didn't see any.
That number total?
What?
We allowed to disclose what number we were to each other?
I want to.
What number we were?
Oh, really?
Which I didn't see any numbers, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
Gotcha. I was one.
You were one,
Yeah.
and two. We were real close to each other. And we were close. You were feeling that, Charlotte was.
Is that one harsh?
But knowing the criteria now, and that's why I said this one's a good exercise when we get the bigger stuff, is because you can,
I'm sorry, they told
you
me
can
don't
score
know.
yourself right out of being participating, or you can score somebody who's
Yeah.
kind of on the cusp out of being. a
Here's what I'm not understanding, why this column goes 51,823.
Well, I
And
only
this
checked
one.
because this one didn't have the 250 yet.
No, it
For
didn't.
That total,
It did, oh.
you see what I mean? You just copy.
Yeah, that's.
That's the whole reason I went back and
That's,
went to
that's,
check these,
that's my
but,
mistake.
but yeah, that's 7.
72,073. That's my
He scored a
mistake.
zero. Yeah, so on that 708 one, like,
But
so you can see the 68, 68 dollar figure. That one's the good.
Well, I'll tell you what, can we approve it tonight, guys, at the amount of? Because what I don't understand is there's numbers here that aren't here, but the two numbers, the total of everything matches up. So I'm gonna have to go through this and try to decipher. I don't want
Yeah,
you
it's
guys to
just
have to
that
sit here
one
for
form.
an hour while I try to decipher it. What we'll do is we'll approve payment of the 52,073.33 tonight. If it's different, we'll do an amended resolution next Thursday.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean,
The
it's,
totals in that?
the totals match, and that's
The
what I can't
grand
understand. The
total
grand
matches.
totals match, and that comes directly out of QuickBooks, so I'm not understanding, I'm totally at a loss. It makes zero sense that the two totals would match up, but the numbers aren't the same number.
That's why I was confused
Yeah.
too, because it's only.
But
like
I
$70
can't even begin to try to figure out where the mistake happened. So can I
This
get
side
over
of the
here?
table caught it. We were on top of it. We knew
Well, I
it.
didn't even have the ticker tape to look at.
Yeah, there was something
Don't
there.
worry.
Did you want the big rubber band?
Yeah, well, except I want to put this in there first. Oh, I need everybody's
yeah.
signature, whoever didn't sign this.
That would be me, because I was waiting to hear the answer on that. You signed, I see red.
Somebody else didn't sign,
It
it
was
was only three.
Adam.
I missed that one?
Really, you're so busy.
So-
No, I know, and I was like, your signature was mine. So I was
Abstract
like, how did I get
15.
Green consider.
Maybe you can't see
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Like, wait a
And
minute.
then a scribble.
Gotta go in like-
Adam, you always gotta be orange, because that's your Met color. That's why we made you that color.
Best rotation in the history of baseball, and a season that almost didn't happen.
Like this is all time.
So this goes in here. I need that color. So that goes back in there. This is the escrow. That was Aaron's points for the one she did. You can destroy that. 8-3.
Well, we do this one.
Highway.
I
No,
would
no,
say
you're
no
right. Know
point.
who you're selling to, man.
You know, as long as you're doing it the same across the
Oh,
board.
yeah, that's how
it
I
doesn't
was
matter.
very
Yeah.
consistent. It was
Oh,
like,
I'm consistent.
if they gave us project timeline, it was
Okay,
how much time it was.
I need a resolution to approve payment of abstract 15 in the amount of, the only one is general fund, $2,108.84. Do I have that motion? Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Next, payment of abstract 3 of 2022 in the amount of highway fund, $56,143.63. General fund, $52,073.33. Street lighting fund is 0. Escrow fund is $9,368.50. No, $8,368.50. Have that motion? We're gonna have to go back and amend because I got to change that one down.
I thought that I was on the wrong abstract number again. just gonna ask if it has.
All in favor of the abstract 3? Aye. Opposed, abstained. Okay, we're gonna make an amendment to abstract 15 of 2021. It is $2,108.85. Michael, will you make that amendment? Aaron, second that amendment?
Sure.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay. Somebody.
Motion
All
adjourned.
right.
I was like, wait, do you have any more left? I don't even know how many more
Do we have a
times.
second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. What time is it? 10:55, man.
I thought we didn't have to vote.
We don't, we just have to have a second,
We just have to have motion.
just for fun.
Thank you, everybody. Great, thank you.
Happy birthday,
Thanks for
Mike.
keeping us company.
There's no prize at the end.
Well, except us, we get to smile
That's
at
right.
you.
That's right. It's worth it all.
Yeah, it would have been really weird if you left like 5 minutes ago.
Sit.
Is the meeting over?
The meeting is over.
Okay, it's not.
Are we still streaming?
No, and it's,
broadcast.
I'm closing it out right now.
We are still